Hello, everyone. Welcome to City Hall. It's good to see everyone. I want to call the meeting to order at 1 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Williams.
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton has been granted an excused absence for today. Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Rist.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, I am unfortunately, I was good, and then I just opened it back up. So I'm going to need your help again. I may need to look on your screen or something. I'll follow here. All right, announcements by council. Councilmember Cook.
No announcements, but thanks all for being here. Look forward to a good meeting.
Councilmember Baker. All right, Councilmember Caballero.
Thank you. I just want to take up the Fourth Amendment resolution on other items at the end of the agenda. Thank you.
Sounds good. Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Rist. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a couple things. Thank you, Mr. Manager. DCM Wimbush, good to see you in the chair there.
I don't get paid as much as the manager. You can call me that, give me the salary,
Yeah.
all right?
Well, thank you all, and good afternoon, colleagues and city staff and residents online and here in the room. So a couple things. So I want to note, thank you to Councilmember Baker. The two of us had a meeting was it yesterday? Yesterday. Was yesterday, yeah. Along with City Manager Bo Ferguson and Deputy City Manager Keith Chadwell, with a number of folks who are interested in employee ownership. Oh, and of course, Josh Gunn from OEWD. So as you all may know, employee ownership is not as well recognized in this country, but 10 million workers in this country are employed by a firm that either has an ESOP or some kind of cooperative model or an employee ownership trust. So it's a very well-known and well-utilized way to form a business in the marketplace, but it's not as well recognized. So 8% of folks in the private workforce work for an employee-owned company. Pretty amazing. And so the conversation on yesterday was with our North Carolina Employee Ownership Center and a group called the Democracy at Work Initiative that's promoting employee ownership across the country. And so we were talking about, with our new OEWD director, how Durham might be involved in a cohort of cities that are promoting employee ownership. And this is important because as a city, we have a shared prosperity goal, right? Employee ownership is a great way to increase wages for employees, increase wealth for employees, but also increase their tenure in their jobs and increase their their involvement in sort of workplace decisions, workplace governance, and so forth. So we're excited about that and encouraged by the discussions that Josh Gunn is going to lead with OEWD about the city being part of that. But it's a really important way to think about building more economic empowerment and wealth building within our economy. So exciting stuff. Thanks for being there, Director Gunn, and we look forward to further conversations about employee ownership. The other thing I wanted to mention is Mayor Pro Tem was there on Tuesday morning at Ashton Place, which is the latest ribbon cutting. So Ashton Place is right downtown. This is an affordable housing project with 51 units, right, all for seniors, that was initially organized by CAN, kind of got the city involved. So this is a project with city dollars, both land and dollars, as well as our affordable housing partners at DHIC, and then philanthropic partners like Duke. Self-Help was also involved in the team, and also the Oak Foundation. So a great model for a mission-aligned developer building affordable housing units right in the middle of downtown that's going to serve 51 seniors in this community. So again, thanks to Mayor Pro Tem for being there and representing the city. I had to leave before the actual ribbon cutting, but it was a great ceremony. And again, showing that the city in different ways, whether it's through mission-aligned developers, through the work that we're doing with DHA and public housing redevelopment of properties, and also through the proffers that we approved on Monday night, y'all. We approved 300 units of affordable housing Monday night through that one proffer of 40% out of 200 units, and then other development that had 220 of all affordable units that we approved on Monday. So I just want to assure folks in the community that this city, this council is on the job to address the affordable housing challenge, and we are moving boldly to address that. We put a big dent on Monday night in affordable housing. We've also, if y'all read the packet we get every meeting from Sarah Young in the planning department, we have had almost 3,000 proffers from private developers in the last 5 years of affordable housing units. That's one of the tools we use to build affordable housing. And that might not sound like a lot, but if you divide 3,000 by 5, that's like 600 units a year, or 50 affordable units per month have been proffered by private developers. So We don't have tools in this city and the state to require private developers to build affordable housing, but we are making use of all these different tools, proffers, mission-aligned developers, and our partnership with DHA to make sure we're addressing this affordable housing challenge. So I just want to share with folks that I think I'm proud of the city, I'm proud of our leaders, I'm proud of our partners, and I know we're not done with this challenge, but we got to keep working. But we've put a big dent in the affordable housing challenge, and so I'm proud of that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Rist. You've actually taken part of my comment. I cannot make it back in time. Please be careful. People are hacking airlines out there that will leave you stranded, like me. But I'm here. I was not able to make the ribbon cutting, but I'm glad that you all did. And oftentimes, I know we have challenges in our community, but we have way more to be proud of in this community than not. And oftentimes we address things from a very depressive state. And I want folks to know that we are working really hard, considering doing this in a preemptive state. You're right. We have, over 1,000 this year alone, affordable units in the pipeline right now. That's a big deal, considering that's just from, like new construction. We haven't even really got into, hopefully we will soon, into, more naturally occurring affordable housing and actually utilizing our AAA credit bond rating to work with developers in a public and private way to, seek more acquisitions, backing nonprofits who can actually be more competitive and, acquiring some of these, properties that are coming to term. So we're doing, when I say we, I mean we are being a catalyst for these resources, and it's not perfect, but I'm for dang on sure going to make sure that we celebrate the progress, and I think that that needs to be celebrated. So thank you for being there. Thank you, colleagues, for being a council that, mostly appreciates, the work that's being done. And I'm going to make sure I continue to sing that from the mountaintop as loud as I can. There are too many people in this community that think that there is nothing happening, and there are not enough people that know what's happening that's actually correcting that. So I'm going to make sure that we know in Durham what is actually happening, and that is going to start with the city too, in our communications. We are going to start communicating our wins better. So thank you all for that. Shout out to the over 1,000 local elected officials from Latin American countries and islands and the United States. As I said, recently in Albuquerque, there are folks that are talking about Durham all over the world and some of the innovative and progressive policies that we are putting forth. I spent this past weekend in Virginia talking about, just our small business ecosystem here. Left there and went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and addressed over 1,000 local elected officials from Latin America and Latin American countries and Caribbean islands. Just about, they were really interested in what we're doing with HEART. They were really interested in what we're doing with, how our economy is so strong. Like, how do we have this unique situation of top-tier universities, amazing research organizations here. Yes, they're being attacked from the top, but our like RTI and FHI, like how do we get all these companies here and have these top-tier universities and a strong workforce, and and just a growing economy, a growing tax base? They wanted to know how we are managing all of that, because we are what many cities around the world want to be. We are a region where many regions around the world want to be. I just want more of us here in Durham to realize what folks outside of Durham are wanting to be. And so I addressed the audience on behalf of our city and the unique position that we're in, and it felt good to rep Durham on the stage. But it feels better to be back. I hate missing meetings, and I watch you all on YouTube. But thanks for passing those cases with affordable housing. All right, let's get going. We have quite the agenda today. I have a sign up. Oh, here it is. I will now go to our priority matters. I know that Mayor Pro Tem will try to get here after the funeral, but not sure if he's going to make it or not. We have Deputy City Manager Bertha Wimbush stepping in for both Ferguson, and I know City Attorney Kimberly Rayberg will get here near the end, but our amazing Fred Lamar is here in our place. All right, on you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Williams, members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to share our priority items. I have two priority items for you this afternoon. One, agenda item number 18, 2025 second quarter crime report, which is scheduled for 20 minutes. The presentation will be made today at the work session. Under other matters, we'd like to add a discussion on the December 2025 organizational meeting. That discussion will be facilitated by Mary Grace Stoneking in the City Manager's office. Those are my priority items.
Thank you. 18. Oh, you mean the organization meeting?
Yes, it's under other matters. Today we're asking to add it under other matters.
All right, thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Williams and members of the City Council. Senior Deputy City Attorney Fred Lamar sitting in temporarily until for Kim Rayberg, the City Attorney, until she returns. The City Attorney's Office does have a priority item for a closed session. The motion for that closed session is to hold a closed session pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A3 for attorney-client consultation concerning the handling or settlement of EEOC charge number 433-2025-01026, Delethea Cruz versus the City of Durham.
Thank you.
And if it would be
Yeah,
suitable for y'all
we'll
to vote on that now, or?
We'll go ahead and entertain a motion now, and then we'll execute at the end of the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded per read as the City Attorney interim. All in favor, please respond by aye. All right, aye. All opposed. All right, thank you so much. We'll execute into closed session at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
I need to do yours, or was just? Yeah, accept it. All right, let me go back to the manager's priority items. I'll entertain a motion to receive the priority items by Deputy City Manager Bertha Wimbush. Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you so much. Received. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have the board and committee and commission report. The first nomination for the Racial Equity Commission is Caitlin Kempsky for Ward 2. The next nomination for the Workforce Development Board under the category of Adult Education and Literacy is Crystal Avant. Next, for the Citizen Advisory Committee appointment for general member is Kayla Rudisil. The Durham Historic Preservation Commission appointment representing at-large is Emily R. Spencer. And then the Durham City County Environmental Affairs Board appointment for the youth position, the nomination is Zora H. Lentz. And we've got a couple nominations without consensus. The Durham City County Environmental Affairs Board nomination for the at-large position. We have 3 council members who have selected Michelle Carter, 2 that have selected David Barron, and Chris Guy and Benjamin Stockdale have each received 1 vote.
And just to verify, David Barron was who the
Yes.
Environmental Affairs Board recommended, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a recommendation on that one.
Could you move, I don't know if I voted for it or not, but if you can move mine to that if I didn't.
Okay, Mr. Barron has 3 votes right now. Okay, and that makes 4. Thank you.
Can I ask that when they make a recommendation that we include a like an asterisk or something? Because I think you can see it on the memo, but not on the ballot.
Okay. Oh, you want that on the ballot? Okay, sure. The electronic. Okay.
That would be helpful, because usually I try and go with the recommendation.
Okay, we can mark that in the future. And then for the final nomination, it's the Durham Planning Commission. We have 3 votes for Sahara Gar, 2 votes for Juan P. Montes, and 2 votes for Kamala L. Uzel.
Would you all like to put it on GBA? All right.
GBA? Okay, thank you. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. At this time, I will read the consent agenda, then I'll come back up and I have 1 speaker signed up for Citizens Matters. And then we'll execute the agenda here. Oh, it's 1 electronic. Oh, okay. Can I get that info? You said it's online. Okay. Let me go ahead and just do the speakers. All right, Ms. Katie Ross, are you here in person? Yes. Oh, there you are. All right, welcome. You have 3 minutes. Thank you. Could you turn that mic on? Just press the button on the right down on the platform.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right. I was already going to talk about this topic before yesterday, which is the importance of public hearings on property development matters. But then yesterday, a case came down from the Court of Appeals, Barefoot versus the County of Durham. And that's a case that's been under consideration for years, but it started back on November 22nd, 2022, when Robin Barefoot and her neighbors, and I'm a more distant neighbor, we came and testified and protested the granting of a conservation subdivision of 141 houses in a property that is very close to Robin's house and other neighbors within 600 feet. They are all the actual plaintiffs in this Court of Appeals. Okay, we lost in the trial court, but the Court of Appeals reversed that yesterday. It's not difficult to understand the premise of the decision, which is simply that if the UDO says a conservation subdivision shall meet the following 12 purposes, it means just that. And if they don't, if a proposal doesn't meet that, then it cannot be approved. But the planning department took a different view, that they could meet one or none or any number that the planning department thought was appropriate, the planning director, and they approved, they went forward. And there was a hearing on this, but it was only on a major use, special use permit. So it was a quasi-judicial hearing. That was the main point. I testified to that legal point to the county commissioners. Robin asked the planning director, Sarah Young, who'd said, well, if the neighbors don't like it and it's administratively approved, then they can appeal to the Board of Adjustments. Robin asked, how do they know it's been approved if there's no notice, if there's no hearing? And she had no answer for that. So my point today is when you're considering the new UDO, and we will be giving you more details on this as time goes by, do not eliminate or reduce by percentages the development cases that are going to come before you as a public hearing, because this is an example. Robin Barefoot versus the County of Durham, the Court of Appeals said what they'd been doing was illegal. It did not comply with the UDO. And yet, had it not been for that need for a special use permit, there would have been no hearing. We neighbors wouldn't have known about this development going in until the bulldozers showed up, and you wouldn't have known about it. That's the thing about administrative approvals. You don't know about it, you representing us.
Thank you.
So that's it. I just want you to be careful about that in the upcoming UDO, and we'll have more for you. Thank you.
I'm sure. Mr. Lamar, I'd like to get more information on that as well.
Okay, sure. We'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, how does the clock work?
It goes back up when it hits 0.
Okay, all right. I didn't know. Okay. All right. The next person I have is Mr. Langley. Mr. Langley, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so very much. Good afternoon. My name is DeWarren Langley. I'm the volunteer executive director of the Charles Hamilton Houston Foundation, which is an impactful, driven nonprofit committed to advancing equity and opportunity for boys and young men of color through competency-based learning, strategy-centered mentorship, and career-focused skill development. Durham stands at a critical moment in its history. While our city is rich in culture, innovation, and opportunity, many of our boys and young men of color are not assessing the pathways that lead to long-term success. The challenges they face, academic gaps, limited exposure to careers, and barriers to economic mobility, place them at a greater risk of crime, gang involvement, and cycles of poverty, which you will see during the crime report that will come before you all this afternoon from our chief of police. We need a transformative plan, one that is intentional, coordinated, and forward-looking. Such a plan must begin with strengthening academic achievement, which is why we must get in partnership with Durham Public Schools, ensuring that every boy of color has access to rigorous instruction, tutoring, and mentorship that build both confidence and competence. But academics alone are not enough. We must integrate skill development and career exploration early, showing our boys the real-world relevance of what they are learning and introducing them to careers in high-demand industries and preparing them for their future. This means providing them with opportunities to earn industry-recognized credentials and to prepare them for college, community college, and the workforce simultaneously. When our boys leave high school, they should not only hold a diploma, but also credentials that carry real value in the job market. With these tools, they can achieve economic stability, moving upward in their careers, and contribute to Durham's prosperity. The benefits of this investment go beyond the individual. By creating valuable alternatives to crimes and gangs, we reduce violence, build safer communities, and strengthen community trust. A young man that sees a future for himself is less likely to fall into cycles that harm both himself and his community. This is not charity, this is strategy. When boys and young men of color thrive, Durham thrives. A transformative plan that bridges education, workforce development, and community safety will foster shared economic prosperity and create the kind of safe, vibrant city we all want to call home. Now is the time, and I know the risk of calling for this in an election cycle, but we must do this. We must act together. Educators, business leaders, policymakers, community members, community-based nonprofits. The cost of inaction is too high, but the return on investment for our boys and young men of color is limitless. Thank you.
Thank you. Totally agree. Look forward to you continuing to do your part and other community members out there as well. Thank you for the work. All right. I am now going to read our consent agenda. Item number 1, Racial Equity Commission appointment. Item number 2, Workforce Development Board appointment. Item number 3, Durham City County Environmental Affairs Board appointments. Number 4, Durham Planning Commission has been referred to GBA. Item number 5, Citizens Advisory Committee appointment. Item number 6, Durham Historic Preservation Commission appointment. Item number 7, contract with El Centro Espanol to provide salary and operating support. Item number 7 has been pulled. Item number 8, Second Amendment to Interlocal Cooperation Agreement between the City of Durham and the Durham County to contract a joint crisis communication plan.
Pull that one too.
Number 8 has been pulled. Number 9, contract with Brinks Capital LLC for Brinks Complete Smart Safe Services.
Pull that one.
Number 9. Number 10, contract for electronic presentment and pavement processing for the city of Durham with InfoSend Incorporated.
Pull that one.
Number 10. Number 11, contract with Brinks Incorporated for cash in transit services. Number 12, United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Forest Service, Inflation Reduction Act, Urban and Community Forestry Expansion Project. Urban Forestry Tree Canopy Assessment with Ecoscene Environmental Group Incorporated. Number 13, governing service agreements for on-call professional services, architects, landscape architects, engineers, civil, structural, plumbing, mechanical, and electrical, roof and building envelope specialists, and building commissioning providers. Number 14, United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Forest Service, Inflation Reduction Act, Urban and Community Forestry Expansion Project, Tree Inventory and Urban Forestry Management Plan with Arbor Pro Incorporated of CA Incorporated. Number 15, the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, Forest Service, Inflation Reduction Act, Urban and Community Forestry Expansion Project, right-of-way tree planting with Southern Garden. Our forestry department is busy. Number 16, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD Grant Project Ordinance.
Pull that one.
Number 16 has been pulled. Number 17, Contract Amendment Number 3 for Durham Workforce Development Board, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, Youth Program, Eckerd Youth Alternative Incorporated, DBA Eckerd Connects.
Pull that one.
Number 17 is pulled. Number 18, Presentation 2025 Second Quarter Crime Report. Number 19, Contract with Electronic Data Corporation Incorporated for cloud-based vendor-hosted integrated parking management software for Park Durham.
Pull that one.
Yep. Number 20, Construction Award to Moffett Pipe Incorporated for the East Durham Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Replacement Phase 1A project. Number 21, Construction Award to JF Wilkinson Contracting Company Incorporated for the West End Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Replacement Phase 1 and Main and Broad Street Phase 1 and Main and Broad Street Waterline Project. Number 22, fiscal year 2027, 2029, the strategic plan refresh will be a presentation. And number 23, Reimagine with Durham Freeway study presentation. And of course, for our general body meeting, we have our cases. Number 24, consolidated annexation courtyards at Oak Grove. Number 25, consolidated annexation Durham Gateway at Briar Creek. And speaking of those, I would like to thank Director Gahn for joining us. We had a new project that the council approved out on Hillsborough Road, the old Coca-Cola bottling company. They did their launch today, so it was great to see so many community members out there celebrating with the developers to build that part of Durham that will make that community better. They are at 60% occupancy already committed with, some big brands that are coming to Durham in that part of town. That was desperately needed. So really, really excited about what's to come in that part of town. Thank you, Director Gahn, for being out there. All right, so we have a lot here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 17, and 19. All right, started with you for a while, Councilmember Cook.
No, we were uncoordinated today, sorry. Okay. I think I'm gonna be pretty brief on the first couple.
Good afternoon. Christina Reardon, Budget and Management Services.
Thank you. So this is, I just want to bring attention because I think that this is an interesting example of something. Can you just tell us a little bit for the public record about how this came to be in our budget?
Sure. So this is a contract with a local nonprofit that was first first started with the city in 2022 as a council budget request. So in other words, the council brought it forth as a council budget request. You all are pretty familiar with that request process. We do ask you whether something should be one-time or continuing. This was at the time of that council put in the budget as a continuing budget. And so that has remained at the amount that it was approved at that time.
And so this is to hire an individual. Do we get any reports back on any performance or anything else that comes from this hiring?
We do. We get a quarterly report from the organization.
And so this has never been brought back. So if there was an increase in that person's pay to keep up with minimum wage standards or anything like that, that would be something that the organization themselves would have to pay. Is that
Yeah,
right?
this is only a portion of a position. It's not a full position.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. I know that El Centro is doing good work and has come to be reliant on the city for the past few years, but it's one of the things that's in our budget sort of in perpetuity that doesn't get to be addressed every year. And folks from the community have noted, not specifically this one, but this type of reoccurring donation that feels unfair for other organizations that don't have an adequate means of competing for this money. So I just wanted to flag that for today, but those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm here for agenda item number 8, Amy Blaylock, Communications.
Hey, so this is another one that I just want to flag. It's going to be very brief, but this is something that's coming up for community members quite a lot. So I was hoping you could just kind of give us an overview of what's going on, and also I want to know kind of specifically how much control the city versus the county has in the development of this, and what that kind of is going to look like moving forward.
Okay, so the interlocal agreement is for the county has the contract with IEM International. We are in the process now of creating the crisis communications plan. That plan is underway with the vendor. The reason this is before you today is that the county is extending the contract with the vendor because they need a little bit more time. The contract wasn't long enough. And accordingly, the ILA needs to match the date that is going to be in the revised contract. At this point, I see no reason why that should not be completed by late May, early June of 2026. We're on track to do that, but they want to build in extra time just to make sure if something unforeseen happens, that we won't have to come back again to extend the ILA again, because that needs to match the contract date with the county. But it is going well. We've already surveyed all of the public communicators in the city and county governments to get their feedback on what they need, what's working well, what's not working well, so that we know what to address in the plan. At this time, the plan should be written itself by early winter, and then we will move into training and workshops with communicators to make sure we know how to conduct the plan. And then hopefully the final deliverable will be May, June of 2026. But we absolutely realize it's a need, which is why we wanted to get this done, and we really appreciate your support in helping us make that happen.
Thank you. And so I just want to reiterate what you said, but the plan is going to be written hopefully this year. By the time that early or late May, early June timeline comes around, this is going to be full ready to implement the plan.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And then who is meeting? Can you just talk to a little bit about like who has say in this? Because I know obviously the county has the contract, but the city is a part of it as well.
Correct. So on the county side, we have meetings twice a month with the vendor, as well as emergency management and the county PIO team, Public Information Office, as well as the city communications team. Myself is in that meeting.
Okay, so we have a city representative in all of the meetings.
Yes,
moving
ma'am.
forward. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember, could you, when you say the community, because I hadn't heard anything, we don't have like a pot of money that's competing for. It's just if someone requested, then they kind of go out there. Because I hadn't heard anything. Is there like a large group that we need to address?
Are you talking about this one or the one before?
You just said community members had a concern, the one before and this one, and I just hadn't heard anything.
Oh, so this has been a high point in conversation and community members. There's been multiple like forums that have been organized around disaster preparedness, and we've responded, I think, well to those. But people are obviously interested in having a more discrete plan because they want to know what to do in certain types of emergencies, particularly as we're seeing like flooding and these type of things happen more frequently. So that's what I was talking about with that one. I just wanted to put it on the record because I think lots of people are talking about it. I'm sure you've heard that conversation.
And that's what this is going to address, right?
Right.
Once it's,
Yeah, and so I just wanted to.
Okay, I see what you're
I
saying.
just wanted to
Okay.
like have it on the record because I know folks have been asking about it.
okay, that's cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Communications is near and dear to my heart,
Yes,
so.
we appreciate that.
Councilmember?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just to your comment about the comments that have been heard by Councilmember Cook. I also want to make clear, like, the sense that somehow El Centro had an unfair advantage, I'm not sure that's accurate. I think there's a budget process. We all can submit requests. People in the community can reach out to us about a request, but to suggest it's unfair, I don't think that's quite accurate. So.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, that has been something that's been brought to me from different organizations around the community, which is not maybe that like that one thing happened, but the fact that it's reoccurring, folks don't feel like they have meaningful competition for money moving forward, like that they have to have a champion on council, they have to have the ear of one of the 7 of us to put a budget request forward, which doesn't feel fair for a lot of nonprofits that might be smaller or less connected. So that has been something that's come up, and I'm just raising it because I've heard it from the community.
Gotcha. And that's why I brought that comment, because, I mean, we just had a small area plan for Walltown. East Durham was like, hey, what about us? I don't want to send the connotation that only certain people are able to get certain things. Like, there is a process open to everyone. But there's no pot of money that folks are competing over other than the festival money, which I think needs to be more. You know? But I noted to your point, Councilmember Cook, but I also just didn't want it to come off as, El Centro has to hook up. All right. Yes, go ahead.
I don't think this is about number 8, so I don't want to leave. Sorry, I feel bad. This is just referring back to number 7, and I don't need staff. I just want to say that there are lots of nonprofits that get dollars, and so if we're going to have that conversation, then we should have it in a cohesive way and talk about everyone. So that was, I think it was Mayor Schul who brought that item forward many years ago. So happy to have that conversation, but certainly don't want folks to feel like they're being singled out. And I've had that conversation with colleagues, but if we're going to have it, let's have it broadly and talk about where are dollars going and to whom are they going as far as nonprofits, and is it because they went through an RFP process or whatnot, right? Because we can say that, I mean, legal aid got many dollars over time and there was never an RFP process. So I think that we can make that conversation or highlight that in many of the decisions that have been made over the years. And so if we're going to do it, let's do it broadly. Thank you.
I just have a question. Are there other nonprofits that are getting funded for salary? I don't think that's a thing. So I think El Centro is the only one.
I think that's why I brought the question forward.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything to compare to is what I'm saying. So El Centro would be the only organization or nonprofit organization that is in perpetuity in our budget for salary, like for partial salary. That's not, outside of ARPA, which was a specific process, which we all decided on, that is definitely a difference. Whether you think it's an unfair advantage or not, it's definitely a difference. That's all.
I'll just add one thing. I agree, I agree with the sentiment of Councilmember Caballero. I do think the legal aid, is part of and which now there's an RFP there, but it was part of a comprehensive housing strategy. It was a critical piece of a broader vision for housing. And to Councilmember Caballero's point, I do think that it makes sense, at some point moving forward to have a conversation about how nonprofits in our community who are valuable nonprofits, how they get public dollars allocated to them in a thoughtful, logical way. Thank you.
And I just want to reiterate, as I said at the beginning, that this was not an attack on this nonprofit. It's on our agenda today, and it's on my mind because I'm sure that my colleagues will join me in saying that what I'm seeing now is that as federal funding continues to get cut, more and more nonprofits coming to the city saying like, our programming can't continue, what do we do, right? And so just kind of recognizing this in like a broader landscape of the cuts that we're seeing for like the folks that are doing meaningful work in the community. Absolutely not specific to this organization.
And of course, I'll just add that I think it's definitely valuable to tie it to something specifically so we can show the community why it's tangibly like being done. So what's the measure? What is it up against? With the example of the comprehensive like housing plan, like what do we, like if it was tied to language access, it was tied to, interpretation, it was tied to providing services in the community, that should be something we're receiving a report on so that we're actually like, yeah, it just needs to be a little bit more fleshed out, that's all.
Well, that quarterly report that we're getting, just if you could send it to the council, Madam Director. Thank you. Yeah, I think, and to Councilmember Cook's point, this is not singling out any one organization. It has El Centro on the docket today, but the city supports a lot of nonprofits in multiple ways. And just like the county outsources funding to urban ministries to do homeless services, governments catalyze opportunity and contract organizations and nonprofits to do all types of services. But to Councilmember Caballero's point, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about all of them. El Centro is just happened to be on the agenda today, so you're in the hot seat. But I am grateful for the work that you all do. Thank you. All right, let's move on to number 9. Councilmember Cook.
John Reese, Finance Department.
Hi, okay, so I thought this was an interesting thing, and I was just hoping you could speak to a little bit. We are pretty limited on the vendors that we can choose for this process, and so I was hoping you could speak to that a little bit, and also if there's been any sort of discussion. I know when we talked about keeping the buses fare-free, we talked about the cost of implementing money collections and what that meant, and so like that was sort of an offset to just funding the buses completely. But like what this looks like sort of in how it offsets money that we collect from these services. It's a big question.
Sure. Yeah, I can start with well, let's start with the second one. So, so this service really is to replace our existing cash and transit services that we've had historically with our prior banking institution. So last year, we started implementing a new banking relationship with JP Morgan as opposed to Truist. And previously, Truist had provided armored car services to the city and they covered that fee. Now we have to pay for it ourselves. And so we had to analyze kind of the most cost-effective ways for us to continue to collect the cash that we have. Mm-hmm. And we found a combination of using armored car services for City Hall and then these smart safes for these kind of outlying locations. So it's not really meant to offset other programming that we have going on, but kind of looking at the most cost-effective way for us to collect the cash that we are currently collecting at various locations.
That's helpful. So I'm assuming that because JP Morgan was, they have specific vendors that they use. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah.
JP Morgan was selected through a competitive bidding process, and as part of that, we can, Mindy Taylor, City Treasurer, sorry. They were selected through a competitive bidding process, and armored courier services were considered as part of that agreement. So going in, we knew that there were a few vendors that we could work with for the service, and we considered that for all the banks that we reviewed. And this, even though we'll be paying out of pocket for these services, we're still saving a significant amount compared to our current banking relationship with Truist.
Okay, thank you so much. Those were my questions. Thanks.
Hello again, I'm up for the next item as well.
I think I pulled that one, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. So I just want to understand this one. So I know that we had a vendor that was doing like our sort of like like bills and stuff that was sending them out. And they just kind of disappeared on us, right?
Yes, that's
And
right.
so we then found InfoSend to like provide that service for us because our other vendor had disappeared. And then as you've been working with InfoSend, it turns out that there's this kind of electronic payments. This is all complicated payments processing stuff, I know. But so I understand we've been working with Paymentus to do our kind of processing payment stuff, but they didn't integrate with InfoSend, right?
Yes.
And so if I can just finish, so now we're sort of issuing a contract to InfoSend to do what Paymentus was supposed to be doing for us. So do we reduce our contract to Paymentus? Like what, because there's like 4.5 million here, there, so it's a lot of money. So help me understand this one.
Yes, so the main driver for this contract is that our current provider, Paymentus, can't integrate with our next-gen ERP system on the timeline that we need, which creates
And that's down the road still, right?
down the
Yeah,
road still, creates very costly delays. And so we need to start working on that integration currently, and InfoSend is able to do that on the timeline that we need
With the new ERP.
with the new ERP, as well as get us up and running with their print mail services. So we get the benefit of having everything going through one vendor and the efficiencies of that. But this is primarily driven by the ERP implementation timeline.
Right. No, that all makes sense. I get that. And it sounds like InfoSend's a better partner going forward because they can integrate with the new ERP system. But then again, we're paying Paymentus a lot of money and they're not providing the same service anymore. So do we cancel that contract? Do we reduce it? Like how do we, or are we double paying for the service, I guess?
We won't be paying double. We'll be reducing our services with Paymentus as we onboard with InfoSend. And so the budget that was allocated to Paymentus will be spent for this new contract instead.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Item number 16. Councilmember Cook.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor Williams, members of City Council. I'm Braden Korowitz with the Housing and Neighborhood Services Department.
I feel like I'm meeting new people today.
Yeah, I was expecting Maggie, so that, interesting, okay, good surprise. So I was just hoping that you could speak a little bit, I know we have a lot of grants that are covered by this, and usually we are, I thought we were doing them back a little bit further, like I thought that we approved the grants in the future for money to reimburse us for expenditures previously, but these are all current contracts. I was hoping you could walk me through that process.
Okay.
And then the second thing is that I saw that there was an increase in there, which was surprising to me. So I was hoping you could talk about that.
Okay, I'll address the second one, and it's the quickest. The increase is for the home ARP allocation. In May of this year, we received notification from our HUD field office rep that the Department of Housing and Urban Development did a quality control check, and they realized that we had been misallocated our funds. The calculation they did was $6,510 less than we were legally entitled to. So they're just adding that to our current home ARP allocation.
When did that happen?
Did the notification?
Or just when did the misallocation happen?
At the onset in 2021, we got
Okay.
notification in May of 2025.
Interesting. And was that something that happened across other other municipalities and groups that distribute this money, or was this?
I don't think it was just particular to us.
Okay,
Yes.
interesting. Okay, and then could you talk a little bit about, because this is what my understanding was, is that the money, we kind of already have an idea of what we're getting into the future, but these contracts are 2025, 26. Can you just explain why it's laid out this way?
Yes, so we recently submitted last week, Thursday, to HUD our 2025 to 2030 consolidated plan and the 2025-26 annual action plan that guides our spending of this funding. And along with that process, we submit our grant agreement materials and packages for this, for these four grant projects.
Okay, so the difference between these two plans is just like how we're going to spend this money versus like what we're seeking in the future, sort of our broader.
Which two plans?
The one that was, you said that one was like a comprehensive plan that reached until 2031,
2030, correct.
2030.
Yep.
So
So,
it's
yeah.
like a broader.
It's a broader outlining after community input, the city's plans for and goals for using these HUD funds.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we're preparing for the next one, I wanted to make a request. Is Director Reardon still in? On number 7, I would like some information. Could you provide me or us just a itemized list of every organization that does get financial support from the city for salary?
For salary, so I will say.
Or all, rather.
So Christina Reardon, Budget and Management Services. The budget team has been working on kind of compiling a list of nonprofits or organizations throughout the city that do receive funding. We have heard that kind of as a request in the past. It's something we've been working on. So we've kind of done an initial outreach to departments. So we're working on kind of refining that list to kind of make it more usable for you because, you know, there too, I think a point one of the council members made before, we provide nonprofit funding in many different formats, and so we are working on that, and it's something in the next few weeks we could probably provide
I was
to
looking back
council.
at my notes. I can count off 4 right now that get support, and some of it goes to salary for organizations.
It is not completely unusual for us to provide salary in some of our, contracts with nonprofits, so.
Okay, thank you. I promise I'd bring it back up.
It was specific to the salaries being tied to some specific program, it's tied to something specifically.
Yep, that's what, it's several, actually.
Thank you, but yes, we can provide that.
Thank you so much. This is item number 17, Councilmember Rist.
Good afternoon, Joshua Gunn, Director OEWD, and
James Dickens, Youth Program Manager.
Thank you so much for being here. We get to see each other all the time. I love it.
Yeah, we're hanging out. Yeah.
So as you may or may not know, I've been asking a lot of questions about the outcomes we're getting from our workforce development contracts.
Yep.
So I just want to say, I want to thank you. This contract has some pretty clear goals, which I really appreciate in terms of placement and employment, in terms of retention and employment. That's the kind of things we want to see with the youth and all the folks who come through our youth, our workforce training system. I just have one question though, on the goal around median earnings was like 3,500. And I didn't understand what that goal meant.
Yeah, I'll let James speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So what that goal means is if someone comes into the program at a particular dollar amount, we want them to move to at least a median income of at least 3,500. So if you came in at 1,200, we want you to at least move to that 3,500, 1,800.
So annual income.
I'm sorry?
You're talking annual income or?
Yes.
Like, so this is like the delta, the increase in earnings.
Yes.
Would be through going through whether it's a certification or training, whatever, that the increase in earnings would be on an annual basis, $3,500 per year.
Not every annual from that starting point. So if you came in at that 1,200, then we want you to move up.
It's like 15,500.
15, yeah. We want you to move up. And then, of course, if you're in a position, you're getting your annual raises, but that may not be that medium goal for, going forward in your career.
Yeah, so maybe worth kind of clarifying. So it's like increase in median earnings, right?
Yes.
Because it just has median earnings that it didn't.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
so like
yes.
Increase, I think that
Increase
makes, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly correct.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And number 19, Councilmember Baker.
Hey there, thanks for coming. I've just, around parking, have heard, we always hear complaints from people about parking. So,
I'm familiar.
Anecdotally, I've never had any issues with the downtown parking before, but I've heard folks talk about there being inconsistency with gates being up at 7 p.m. I'm not sure if you've heard that. And then again, I've never run into issues myself, sort of anecdotally, with the downtown parking meters, but I have heard from folks that when they're using the app, that it's clunky and a little bit difficult from a user-friendly standpoint. So I just wanted to bring those issues to attention as we look at this item, just to make sure that those are tightened when we're negotiating or discussing with the contractor. And then also I think I would be interested at some point revisiting our conversation. We've spoken about parking at length, and I think at our last budget discussions, we didn't really provide clear direction, but I'd be interested in having that conversation again at some point, because I've been hearing a lot about downtown parking. Obviously, we're way down with the debt from the large parking garage, so that factors into our conversation. But I'd be interested in having that at some point in the future. But just wanted to raise those two issues for you as we move forward with this contract. And if you have anything to add to that, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm Sean Egan. I'm the City Transportation Director. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. So the first thing that I'll talk about is the complaints about the app, the Park Mobile app. One of them came from the dais here. The mayor was trying to use Park Mobile with Apple Pay because it says you can use Apple Pay. What we did a follow-up after that, and what we learned is that each client agency has to be individually approved for Apple Pay. So we are going through that process right now, and we've been told by Park Mobile that by the end of this month, you will be able to use Apple Pay in Durham for Park Mobile. So it is helpful to hear this kind of feedback. I didn't realize that you needed to go through a one-by-one approval process to get Apple Pay access through Park Mobile, but it turns out that you do. So we really want to hear from our customers and our community about how we can do better with parking. And when we get that feedback, we follow up and we do the work to improve the service that we're offering in the community. Gates up. I was walking with DCM Probst past one of our gates last week, and it was up. And I sent a message to our team. There was an error code that had come through the system. So within a few minutes, we had that gate back down again. That will happen from time to time with our systems where there'll be a malfunction and a gate will go up. We are a gates down operation. We are looking at some process improvements. We had a really good meeting with our partners at the DPAC, the Performing Arts Center, to talk about how to improve when everybody's leaving a DPAC show all at the same time. It can create some real queuing issues. So we're working on a process where we have uniformed staff managing a special event. We can then put the gates up for everyone exiting at the time that the show ends, and everyone's exiting at the same time. And we're looking at ways to also improve traffic flow on Church Street, for example. That deck exits onto Mangum, which is one-way southbound for now. But there is a gate that exits onto Main Street by the courthouse. So for special events, we're looking at lifting that gate to allow that egress for all the folks who have attended that DPAC event. So we're looking at implementing those in the coming months. We continue to work with our vendors to address software integration and functionality issues. So we're going to keep doing that. We've made some progress. I'm not satisfied with where we are today in terms of that progress. We're still seeing more errors and issues than I would like to see. But we really are focused on significantly improving the customer service experience and even restructuring our staff organization to put more emphasis on customer satisfaction. And in terms of a broader parking discussion, I'd defer to the manager and Deputy City Manager Winbush on that.
I would appreciate that broader conversation as well. I think that we didn't spend a ton of time on it during budget season because we had lots of things we were trying to figure out. But now that we are, I think, in a different place than we were even 2 years financially with parking, I think it's time to think about, I know Raleigh's moved to 2 hours free parking for the first 2 hours, things like that. So I think it's time to at least have some of those conversations. We may not land there. And then additionally, Sean, I was just curious, how are we doing with the employee parking program for downtown workers?
So since the council changed the parameters for the program last year, we went from 60% AMI to 80%. So we allowed more folks at slightly higher income levels. And then we also increased the discount where it used to be you would pay $70, and now employees are only, qualifying employees are only paying $35. We've seen that enrollment in the program has tripled since those changes were made in October. So we're up close to 75 active permits right now with that program. So the changes that the council approved last year, we're seeing the impact of those.
Thank you. And then my understanding is that your staff was willing to go to places to help employees enroll in like one-stop shop.
That's right. We've actually done some outreach events at one of the local restaurants here where we set up a table so that folks who were working there could come and either provide their documentation or learn kind of what they would need to bring back. So we've been working with Downtown Durham, Inc., and their members and to share that message. We're available. We will come to you.
Perfect. I think for folks who are working with our downtown businesses, I hope that they hear that our transportation department is willing to come to you. We understand sometimes workers are busy and can't get to y'all's office. And so back to that kind of customer satisfaction, I think that that's a tremendous service. And I hope some of our downtown businesses are listening, and maybe some of our comms folks can highlight that and amplify that as well, that our transportation department is willing to come to you, because we want our downtown businesses, our workers it's a huge benefit, and we want them to take advantage of it. So I think, thank you to you and your staff for doing that. I think it's great. And then I had one other thing, but I lost it.
Just gonna piggyback off of that. One other thing I've heard is that some of the paperwork is a little bit challenging, that there are certain documents that some service workers just don't have, or people who have multiple jobs. And so I guess my only ask there is maybe just listening, and if there's something that we can do to make it a little bit easier for workers, in addition to going to where they are, if there's something that we can modify paperwork wise to make it easier to apply, that would be appreciated.
I can certainly follow up on that.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just want to second or third the suggestion to have a further conversation about parking. I mean, what you're doing to improve the customer experience, to address the need to do uptake with workers who could benefit from this is really good that your department is offering that. I do hear on my role on the DDI board, I continue to hear concerns about parking. I think Councilmember Caballero referenced Raleigh having a couple free hours. So I think thinking about creative ways that we can continue to I know we have a enterprise fund for parking, right? So to continue to raise dollars, but also to be creative about how we do that in ways that could support the health of our downtown businesses. So I do look forward to a conversation with my colleagues about parking. Thank you.
Thank you. One last thing, and this is more, again, for you, Councilmember Rist, who's our liaison at DDI, and for transportation. I've had some conversations with downtown businesses, and one of the things that I do want them to also do is amplify that our buses are free. I understand that not everyone is on a transit line that is easily accessible or one that is frequent enough, but we are working on that, and we are keeping our buses free, fare free.
Find it?
I should have brought my prop up to the dais with me here. So spread the word. If council members would like one of these water bottles that help us spread the word and use the best tasting water in North Carolina, and you can drink it from a bottle that promotes fare-free transit.
Perfect. Thank you. So that's it. If we can get that, folks really amplifying again that our buses are nice, they're clean, they have free Wi-Fi, have great air conditioning, and you can ride them fare-free.
and they have plug-in outlets.
Just one more comment on that. So I think I had a great conversation with Mr. Egan, the city manager. I think Lauren Grove was in that meeting, Ms. Blaylock, about the larger issue you've raised about we've got these fare-free buses. They're high quality. We're increasing the frequency of service. And so when we market all kinds of city events, we always talk about parking available. We kind of norm car travel. We need to begin to change that conversation, right? Change how we talk about mobility to norm ways that aren't always car transportation to get around, whether it's biking or walking or buses. So I think there's a larger conversation the manager has invited to talk about how do we begin changing, and again, thanks Ms. Blaylock for being there, how do we begin changing the conversation about how we norm what kind of ways we get around town. So thank you so much for that.
Well, this is music to my ears. Having to listen to my small business peers talk about parking and the complications around it. I hope that they're listening. Because the majority of the council is talking about it. I believe all of us agree that this is something that we need to address. And I hope they're listening, because this is one of the things I hear about most. Leo, why don't you guys fix the freaking parking? So thank you. And thanks to your staff for all what you're doing.
We want the water bottles too.
All right, and that was the item that I was thinking about pulling. So thank you, Councilmember Baker. So now to our presentations. Who's first? Is that the strategic plan. Hello.
The whispers from my. Hello, everyone. I am Sherry Metcalf. I work in the Budget Management Services Department, and I help manage the strategic plan citywide. So today I'm here to give you an update. It is a busy year for us. This FY26, we're finalizing our final year in our current strategic plan, and we are about to dive into a very big refresh to develop our next strategic plan, which these years kind of scare me, but 2027 to 2029 strategic plan that we hope to have up for your approval in June of next year. So quickly, I want to just introduce the team real quick. I am joined here with Cecily Hamilton. She is great and amazing. I want to do a special introduction to Jessie Wren. You're going to have to stand, sorry. But Jessie it's her second week this week. But Jessie is our ICMA Fellow, and this is a program, it's a national program that the city has been part of for many years, and we've just been so lucky with folks in the past. Actually, one of them is right over here. Mary Grace started as an ICMA Fellow with us, and we're just so happy to have Jessie. If you see her in the hall, say hello. This program brings in graduate students for a year to 2 years, and they come in and get some real-world experience, and we try to instill a love of public service into them, and hopefully will last a career, her lifetime. So anyway, we're happy to have Jessie with us. And then last, of course, but not least, we have Andrew Holland, who manages all of us in our Office of Performance and Innovation. All right, so with that, the next few slides may look a little familiar to you, but make sure we're all on the same page here. So a strategic plan, why do we have a strategic plan? So the strategic plan is a roadmap, or if you're closer to Jessie's age, it's a GPS to where the city is heading and where we want to go. This plan just gives clear direction to staff, to residents, and our partners about where the city is headed. It connects our limited resources with our long-term vision, helps us to stay accountable by tracking progress along the way. So we've had our strategic plan for quite some time. We adopted our first one in 2011, and each cycle we hope we get a little bit better at it. We always learn from things that happen along the way. So either, how we engage with our residents, how we engage with all of you, how we report out. And so this refresh is no different. We're doing some new things. We're excited about that. We just want to, it's just we're just always striving to have a strategic plan that is meaningful and impactful to our residents. All right, so our strategic plan elements, strategic plans are all kind of laid out similarly across different organizations, but we sometimes use different words. So just want to make sure we all understand our terminology. So our mission and the vision on the top, that's fairly standard. Most groups start with that. But under that, we have our 5 goals, is what we call them. These are very big, very broad goals. And under each goal, we have our objectives. And those objectives are focused priority areas. And that's an important phrase because I'm going to talk more about where you all are going to come into that later. But under those objectives, then we have our initiatives. Those are the work that city staff do, action items that drive us in the right direction. And so this structure from vision, mission, our goals, our objectives, those priority areas, and our initiatives helps keep the big picture connected to what we as staff do day to day. That's the key of a strategic plan. It's not just some dream out there that we never look at after we adopt it, right? We want to integrate all of that planning into the work that we do every day. So our current plan, this is a high-level snapshot of our current plan, which is built upon those 5 goals. We have, each goal has 3 objectives, so a total of 15 objectives, along with 41 initiatives. And we always want to remind everyone that, of course, these initiatives don't represent everything that the city does. We like to think of it as an iceberg. If an iceberg is all of the city services, and there are so many. The strategic plan really is just the tip above the waterline. So what are those priority areas that we show up at the top where the bulk of our day-to-day work continues right below that surface? All right, our implementation. So normally the last 2 years when I've been in front of you, I have half of a presentation about implementation, but today we have 1 slide for you. We are in year 3, the last year of our current plan. So the backbone of our implementation strategy is these monthly DSAP meetings. We call them. They're our Durham strategy and performance meetings. And these are meetings where our initiative teams come in, our executive leadership group come in, and there's a conversation where they're sharing out about the work that they're doing. We try to highlight some of their success stories. We like to be a cheerleader in the strategic realm of things. But they talk about also the roadblocks. They come in, they say, well, we're having an issue here or a problem here, and it gives the executive team an opportunity to do some problem solving when needed, make sure people are on track. So that's really the point of DSAP, and that is something we've been doing for quite some time. It changes, and we've been trying to improve upon that process, but that is really the key to our implementation. We also have our strategic plan impact report. This is an annual report. Usually our fiscal year annual report. So we're working on that now. And so that's a year in review of all the work that's been done by our initiative groups. And then of course our public facing dashboard. This dashboard is updated twice a year, the end of a calendar year in December, as well as the end of the fiscal year in June. And so this is something that is available to the public to keep an eye. It holds us accountable, make sure we're doing the things we said we're going to do, but it gives residents an opportunity to go in and see all the good work that these teams are working on. So this job, all of this together just creates kind of a rhythm for our team, and it helps us to, a rhythm of monitoring, reporting out, and adjusting that keeps this plan a living document, not just something that's collecting dust on somebody's desk. Did I say dust or desk? Anyway, you all know what I meant. Anyway, so we're happy. Anyway, that's our implementation. So that brings us to the part that I'm most excited about today, which is our strategic plan refresh. This refresh process, this group, you all know better than most that community priorities tend to shift very quickly. Issues that weren't even on the radar a few years ago are now front and center. Challenges that we thought were behind us have now resurfaced in new ways. And so because of that, we do refresh our strategic plan every 3 to 5 years. We've done some refreshes since 2020. They've been a little bit more internally focused on these refreshes, but this year we are bringing you all into this process right from the beginning, which we're very excited about. Hope that you guys will be excited about this as well. But this year's refresh is going to start with all of you. Go to the next one. So this is the overall process, and I'll talk more about this September 18th Council Visioning Workshop, which you all have on your calendars in just a second. But the overall process, first we're going to look to you to refine our goals and identify your top priorities. We're then going to take those top priorities out to the community, ask our residents, out of these top priorities, which ones even more how do you rank them, okay? We'll bring back all of those results from all that community engagement to you in mid-February, which is when we usually have our budget retreat. Share that information with you. You all can make the decision of, we'll have some recommendations, but we'll make a decision of which of those priorities will then make it into that strategic plan. So again, the tip of the iceberg, right? And after that, the staff and executive leadership will come together. We do a pretty intensive process of coming up with those initiatives, and we talk about outcomes that we're looking for. And so all of that plan, that proposed plan, will come back to you at late May, I think, is when we have our council, our budget workshop, with you all in late May. So we'll have that come back to you and see what you all have to say about that. And then hopefully it'll be adopted in June as part of the budget process. So talking more about these defining goals and priorities is council visioning workshop. We have not done this for quite some time. We're very, very excited about this. So this visioning workshop is scheduled for September 18th in the morning. This will be really the kickoff for our refresh process. It will be a facilitated session designed to bring all of you together to think big picture about where Durham is headed over the next 3 years. In advance of the workshop, our consultant will be reaching out to you individually for some 20 to 25, that's what they're telling us, 20 to 25 minute conversations. These calls will give you a chance to share your ideas, any concerns, and your priorities on a one-on-one. The consultant will then pull those conversations, they'll provide a summary, get that back to you before September 18th. But all of that pre-work should put us in a real good spot to just hit the road running on that September 18th meeting. During the workshop itself, we want to focus in on our current goal definitions, reflect on how they might have evolved or changed, and then brainstorm and narrow down 5 to 7 priority areas in each goal. And you all could probably come up with 15 priority areas in each goal. That's going to be the trick, is to get that down to 5 and 7 as a group. And of course, we'll keep you well fed. We'll have breakfast and lunch ready to go. By the time we walk out of that meeting, though, we hope to have a good, solid framework to then take out to our residents for our engagement. All right, and I mentioned a little bit about one of the parts that we're asking you all to do is to really look at our goals and how they're defined. And sometimes they change a little bit, they shift a little bit. And so I just wanted to give you an example just to get you thinking about it. But for example, if I look at our shared economic prosperity, this goal is obviously all about our economy. When I got here about 12, 13 years ago, this goal was very much focused on downtown, bringing businesses into the downtown area. In the last few years, especially after after COVID, this goal really shifted to be more about small businesses and making sure businesses that were here are being successful. Similarly, or creating a safer community together, when I first got here, it was much more department focused, and our public safety departments, and they've really moved to this idea of how do we work with our community alongside to create a safer community. So they're sometimes minor shifts, but these shifts are important, they matter. And so those are the kind of discussions we want to have with you all of where you think each of these goals and where we as a city are going in these areas. All right. I had all these notes to slow down that I obviously did not listen to because I went through that very fast. But before I wrap up, I just want to thank you again for your time today. I definitely want to thank you for the time you're going to be spending with us in the next few months around this. The priorities that you help set, even the ones that may not make it into the strategic plan later, they're definitely going to be used later to shape our budget conversations, help guide staff, and help us communicate clearly with our residents of where we're going. So we're excited to have that conversation with you and where we can use it in multiple ways. So with that, thank you again. I'm happy to answer any questions. And wow, I really did do that very quickly. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it around in just a minute. Considering we're going into a refresh, do we have any type of report card on how we've met our goals?
Right. So we're updating our dashboard, which should be that report card of sorts. I don't have an A, B, or C for you, but that dashboard that's supposed to be our report card of how we're doing, where we're going.
All right, good. And the other is, I think I've been very public about, my frustration with how we do community engagement. And I know part of that, is now we have a new community engagement department. I'm assuming you're going to be working through that department, right?
We are, yes.
All right. So I won't be pre-critical of that. I want to give it a chance to see how it works out. But Durham is notorious for having the same folks show up to everything, and we call that community engagement. And we don't get a true sample of what the community is. When in actuality, we are the community representation, but this is Durham. I'm interested in knowing, you're starting with council and then you're going out. So when you go out to the community in general, what are you asking them? Are you asking them the same questions, or is council setting based on our priorities?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so we're asking you to set those priorities. We're asking for more priorities than we can have in our strategic plan. So 5 to 7 priority areas. We then take those priority areas out to our residents and ask them to rank them, which I don't like the word rank, but which 3 or 4, that's what we're gonna ask residents. Out of this list, what 3 or 4 rise to the top for you? And our engagement, we do it in 2 different ways. We use our resident satisfaction survey to do that. It goes out random, right, to the community. And then we'll do that more face-to-face time, which we'll be using the new department to help us with that. But
Thank you. Councilmember Cook. Oh,
Just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. So you just talked about 5 to 7 priorities, but in your presentation, there weren't priorities. There were goals, there were objectives, initiatives. So like, when you say priorities, is that the same as goals?
so yes, sorry. So they're the same as objectives. They're not the same, but we take your priorities, okay? And then we would write those to be objectives. And then those objectives is what we base. So objectives are these priority areas. It's the terminology. So we use objectives, but we're using gosh, I'm confusing myself now, but it's your priorities turn into objectives. So we have our goals, objectives / priorities, and initiatives.
I have more questions, but I know you were in the queue first, so. Okay, so I guess my larger question is like, and I think, again, I'm just seeking clarity. When the manager sent out the description of today's conversation, said like, we're gonna take the goals and sort of, then develop new objectives and initiatives. I mean, are how much of this are we gonna keep the same, and how much is open for, open for revision, right? Like even the mission and vision statement, are the goals kind of fixed, or are the goals also, are we also having input on what should be whether it's 5 or whatever, 8 goals or whatever? So is that also open for discussion, or is it more below the goal level?
It is open for discussion. So we're open. The city manager has told it we're open to looking at the goals. If you want to look at adding a goal, we're open to that. This is a big refresh. We want this. We're looking at it all.
So we could have 5 new goals in theory.
I would hope not, but yes.
But I mean, that's part of that's the level of discussion. We're going to really brainstorm about what the goals should be. I'm assuming these aren't going to be radically different, but that is. It's not like we sort of are kind of keeping the same 5. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are we really open to?
We're open, and we're going to look at if something's missing. If something's not included in our 5 goals, we should have a conversation about that for sure. So we are open to that conversation. We're going to see what you all have to say and go from there.
I mean, because I will say, I know we haven't started the process, but one obvious one is housing. We talk about housing all the time, right? It's embedded in one of the goals. So do we lift up housing as a key priority or key goal? So I think that's the kind of conversation I hope we have, because I think we want to make sure this plan does reflect who we are, what we need, and where we want to go with the city. So
I agree. That's exactly what it should represent.
All right, I look forward to that.
Those were actually a lot of my questions, and as you were saying that, I saw a lot of nods in the budget area. So I'm glad to see that. So I guess to follow up on that, when we come in on September 18th, and this is my first one, so I've not done it before, but will there be an agenda? Will there be recommendations? Should we come with some, what can we do to be best prepared for that?
Right. So a lot of that's going to happen with the consultant beforehand in these conversations that they're going to have with you one-on-one. We're still working through that. So some more information will be coming. We'll do our best to keep you informed and communicate with all of that. Our hope is that when we come together on September 18th, The consultant has spent some time with you all, summarized all of that, and we're ready to, have an agenda and go ahead and get to work. But the exact agenda, I don't have at the moment.
Okay.
But as soon as we do, we'll send that out.
And we are going to have that one-on-one scheduled at some point in the
Yes,
very
I
near
hope to have them
future.
scheduled very soon. And we'll
Okay.
work with your staff and city clerk to get that scheduled.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And also, we appreciate that you went quickly. It's all totally fine. I think even putting the note down is more than I can do, so good job.
Well, thank you. You did a
Thank
great
you.
job, too. Thanks for
you
bringing
so
some
much.
personality to the mic, you know?
Well, thank you. And you'll be hearing from us soon. So we hope to have those phone calls very soon. So thank you so much.
All right. Our next presentation.
Police, or are you doing 147?
Should we do police so they can get back to work? Yeah, well, let's, Madam Chief, I know the strain you all have, so you're just waiting. Let's get you all in and out. So let's go with you all.
All right, so good afternoon, Mayor, our council, city leadership, everyone that's present here today. My name is Patrice Andrews. I am your Chief of Police and will be presenting to you your 2025 second quarter crime report. Before I do that, I do want to recognize two new members of our team in our Public Affairs unit, Alicia Banks and Sydney Breeze. They are two new team members that are doing quite well already. That they are doing quite well already. We have zero concerns about them. All right, next slide, please. All right, as you know, our crime report covers part one, violent and property crime. And so you'll see here, as you've kind of heard national trends and even some local conversation about violent crime being down. And so this is reflected here in our numbers, and overall violent crime being down nearly 20%. And so I'll just take each one or just take some high points from these numbers. So homicide, if you'll see our homicide total, through the second quarter, there were 19 reportable homicides. And so 17 of those were criminal homicides with one of those being a domestic violence incident. And then to date, we've had 25 reportable homicides. 2 of those, unfortunately, have been domestic violence related incidents. Our forcible rape cases. So we've seen a shift in some of those cases going down, reduction in the number of cases at each report. And so we don't really know why that there's now been a shift and we've seen a reduction. However, we still continue to encourage people to call, victims to call and report. So 23% of the reported offenses occurred in prior years. So we are talking about last year before, even 5-6 years before or longer. 16% of the reported offenses did involve intimate partners or known partners. And 8 of the 17 clearances were reported in prior years. So what does that mean? That means if you have been a victim of sexual assault, you can still make a report. It's never too late because you just don't know where that case will lead and whether or not we will make an arrest, but we do end up making arrests on belated cases. So our robberies, so again, those robberies are trending down 8%. Our commercial and individual robberies are both down in this category. Individual robberies are down about 11% and commercials down 7%. Interesting to note here is 85% of those commercial robberies, those were actually from retail businesses. So think, organized retail theft, that kind of thing. 56% of all robberies that we had involved firearms, and about 6 gunshot wounds occurred as a result of those. And we're trending slightly higher for the rate for North agencies here in North Carolina in 2023, and that was about 51%. Now, our aggravated assault offenses, that's one of the categories we appreciate trending downward. So we've had fewer incidents this year. As a matter of fact, it's been about a 16% reduction. But also to note, previously we've had incidents where we've had fewer but more victims. What we're seeing here is that we're having fewer victims per incident. The 26% of those incidents, unfortunately, were domestic. 74 of those incidents were non-domestic. So whether they knew the person or it was a stranger. 57% of all of our aggravated assaults involved firearms. There were a total of about 57 gunshot wounds overall. Next, please. Thank you. So this is just a series of charts that we like to provide to you, just so you can just visually see where we are year over year at about a 10-year average or so. And so the chart that you see here is our violent crimes through the second quarter, and it's measured over 10 years. Crime is variable, and there's also seasonal components to crime, with the second quarter averaging about 11% more violent crimes versus the first quarter. So if you look, homicide is always our blue line at the bottom. You see that it's not always variable, so there's not a large variation in homicides. Where you will notice the two crimes that we do have, robbery and aggravated assaults, are generally the ones that you will see really make a noticeable up-down trend. So aggravated assaults, highly variable. However, this year was the lowest total over the 10-year period. And then intimate partner domestic violence incidents were about average with 26% of the total, normally 26%, as were incidents with firearms. The robberies is that green line again. We're trending steadily in our robberies, and that does bode out in the reduction that we've seen in both individual and commercial robberies. So you'll have in front of you, before we go to the next slide, you have in front of you there was a request for just a little bit more information about our violent crime rate. And what you see in front of you is from FY 12-13 forward to now to present, this is our rate per 100,000 residents. And so, as we have noticed, violent crime is trending downward. Now, I do want to just kind of put a little asterisk there and just say to you is what you're seeing is not a result of necessarily a citywide trend, okay? Because we know that our violent crime is not confined to necessarily one area of the city. So it's not a standard reduction across the city. But I do want you just to kind of be aware of that. And I say all that because I think the perception of violent crime as it relates to our numbers trending downward, if you live in a community where you are most affected by violent crime, right, you are going to, when we present these numbers and see it's down, you're obviously going to say that it's not in my area, it's not. Somewhere else it may be, but not in my area. And so when we start to talk about on a whole of per 100,000 people, I think we do need to keep that in mind. Okay, so these are our shooting incidents from January to June. Again, person shot, shooting incidents, all of those are trending, have trended downward. The number of persons shot decreased by 33.6%, and then we've observed those reductions in both fatal and non-fatal injuries, again, as referring back to our overall violent crime trends. There were 426 firearms seized through the second quarter. So we're seizing more firearms through the second quarter because we're down in those seizures, 22%. But these did come from less incidents also, about 326 incidents total in which there were firearms seized. So that's just shy of 2 guns per incident. Okay. All right, so this is our cumulative gunshot wounds, both fatal and non-fatal wounds by week and year, and that goes from calendar year 2020 all the way to where we are now. So as you'll see, the yellow line represents where we are. And so the yellow line seems to be trending right along with where we were in 2023. And so 2023 did have the fewest total gunshot wounds with 207. The most and the highest, as you see, is the gray line there, was in 2020. And then year-over-year declines have occurred since then. The 82 gunshot wounds that we did have through the second quarter were well below the trajectory of all prior years, with only 2023 being close to where we were. As you can see, it's just aligned with where we are currently. Okay. And, you know, I just want to note that 21 of those gunshot wounds were reported at the hospital. So they drove a victim to the hospital, made the report. Officers had to backtrack. So let's take a look at part 1, property crime. It drives some of our crime here in the city. Again, we're down overall in property crime by almost 4%. So burglary. So through the second quarter, there were about 561 total burglary offenses. 54% of those burglaries were to residential locations, but that is down about 19% from where we were same quarter in 2024. Power tools, they're the easiest things to steal. People don't generally have serial numbers, and so those are the most common type of property that's being stolen. Also, if there's a lot of construction, you're going to see that as well. So our larcenies are trending downward just slightly. 37% of our larcenies were from motor vehicles, and that is down. 37% of the larcenies were also related to shopliftings as well. And so we tend to see that, the number of shopliftings. Again, power tools, hand tools, those are the most common type of property stolen. Motor vehicle theft, if you remember, not too long ago, we were way over, and we are coming down in motor vehicle theft. 82% of the vehicles that we had stolen, that does not include attempted thefts or vehicles not registered. Those have been recovered. So we are recovering vehicles, but the trend is what we were finding is that vehicles are being stolen. Those vehicles are being used in a crime. They're being stashed somewhere, or they're being swapped out for another car. Hyundais are, again, our most frequently stolen vehicle make, and then that's followed by Kia and Toyota. Not a knock on any of these car companies, so it just is what it is. So the chart here, this is our property crimes reported all the way from 2016 to 2025. Again, it reflects what I've kind of just gone through. Our larcenies, you can see it, they are the biggest ones that ebb and flow. And so our burglaries have trended steadily downward overall. This year, we had 2 offenses that were the lowest total since 2022. And then residential burglaries were slightly lower than average. The burglaries to retail businesses were higher. So again, that goes back to what we just talked about. We have seen some crime series and crime trends involving one particular group or 2 particular groups that were working together, and that drive some of our numbers that you see here. Once they are apprehended and charged, which we have been able to do that really does help reduce the number of incidents that we're seeing overall. Okay, so this is this graph here represents our cumulative guns stolen week over week from 2020 all the way to June the 30th, 2025. And so there has been a year-over-year increase in firearms being stolen since 2020. We did have a pretty significant jump in 2024. It was an almost 30% increase from the previous year. Of all of the guns that we had stolen, 73% were from motor vehicles, and that is definitely significantly higher than the normal rate of about 56%, which is still even scary. And that was first quarter, but in second quarter, there were 51% of firearms that were stolen from motor vehicles. Of all guns stolen, 68% in the first quarter, 68% were taken by breaking a window, nearly 3 times the normal rate. That's shocking. And then in the second quarter, it was 20%. So we're seeing a reduction in how people are gaining access to vehicles and stealing those firearms. So I want to move to clearance rate and go through this pretty quickly. So staff continues to clear many of these cases at a rate higher, either where we were last year or higher than the overall FBI rate. And so our homicide, if you'll see, we're clearing at 89%. So as you remember, I believe it was first quarter, we reported over 100% clearances. That's because other cases were being cleared, kind of older cases, and it counts on this current year. And then we also cleared an additional six cold cases from 2023 and 2024. 4 clearances are pending right now. And so we're looking forward to getting those closed and folks charged. So I do just want to take a moment to talk about some of the work that we've been doing around arrests and clearances as it relates to violent crimes. Our team has been very laser focused on removing individuals from our community that have demonstrated that they are not responsive to diversion, they are not responsive to first, second, or third chances, and they are committed to a life of violence and crime. And so we have worked very well with our federal partners through our task force officer program. Since January 1st, 2025 to August 1st, 2025, there have been 44 total federal case adoptions. That's huge. We have kept our district U.S. Attorney's Office very busy, and we do believe that that has led itself to a reduction of what we are typically seeing as crime trends that are generally higher. And so our criminal investigations division, since for the past 24 months, they have themselves, there have been 17 federal adoptions on cases. So whether they're robbery cases, special victims unit, so sexual assault cases, those have all been adopted federally. So I'm extremely proud of the work that the team is doing in collaboration with our federal partners. Next. Let's talk about some really great news, all right? So I get really excited when I talk about this. So our second quarter staffing. So currently, on a second quarter at the end of June, our staffing rate, as you see here, we were about 72% staffed. Our non-sworn was 88.4% staffed. As I stand here today, I will tell you that we are currently at 75.2% staffed. 24.8% vacant, and that means 401 positions out of 533 are being filled. How is that happening? Because we have seen a tremendous turnaround in the size of our recruiting classes, as well as those folks that are actually coming and testing and showing interest in being a police officer. Our team has done tremendous work in the area of recruiting and certainly retention and retaining staff. We are extremely happy about where we're going. We are going to be graduating an academy class this month. That academy class is going to be graduating with 10 recruits, and that's BLET 61. We started with 22. We also started a new curriculum with the state of North Carolina. Tremendous growing pains with that curriculum, and so that's reflected in our numbers. We have worked through that. Our training staff has done a tremendous job of being resilient and adjusting, and we are hoping that we will be able to keep more of the class that is getting ready to start with 38. we're starting with 38, and we have 2 laterals or ALET that are going to be joining us as well. So recruiting initiatives, we continue to work on our 30 by 30 initiative, our Durham Bulls partnership, as well as partnerships with our surrounding universities. They formed a DPD Run Club that has QR code and advertisement. We have officers that travel to certain events and they participate in certain events, in like a 5K or even a little bit more than that, and it's advertising, and they wear the shirts. Everywhere we go, we are branded DPD. We also have an officer who plays in his downtime, I believe I had talked about this, plays for the Glowmojis, and he pitches, I think, the first inning generally in a Durham Police Department uniform. And so he's throwing about 92-mile-an-hour ball, so he's not bad. He's pretty good. I do want to also highlight the most significant highlights from our most recent recruiting efforts. It's projected we have increased our Hispanic hires. We're rising from 10% for Academy 61 to this current Academy of 13%, which is significant. Our recruitment rate of female officers, we're still recruiting and retaining above the national average, which is 12%, but we are 15.8%. And so we are very happy at the work that's being done. We continue to work very hard with doing outreach with our Spanish language recruitment radio campaign through LALE and other media outlets. And so we do appreciate their ongoing partnership as well. We believe that it is working and paying off. All right, so again, just to take a look at our basic law enforcement training, it's since 2019. This is kind of what it looks like. We start and where we finish. So the blue line is where we start at, the orange line is where we finish. And we are seeing now the largest academies that we have seen since 2019. And so it's commendable. We are extremely excited. Our officers are thankful and excited about what's happening. We are having new events focused around mentoring and really embracing our new officers that are coming in so that they stay with us for the long haul. And with that, I will say thank you for your time, and I will take any questions. Thanks.
It's quite impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cook?
Thank you, Chief Andrews, for that presentation. I have a couple follow-up questions. Sure. The first is, you talked about not being a citywide trend, and so I was wondering if there was a breakdown. I think we had talked about it last time, specific neighborhoods. I saw that graph, but I didn't feel like that was maybe super usable for.
We can send that to you. We did not put it in this particular report, but we can get that and just kind of send that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. And then we talked some about specific victims in the first quarter and didn't hear anything about that here. So I wanted to follow up on a couple things. So the first was that there was a string of Latinx folks that were targeted. And you said that was a lot of times that there was someone apprehended, I believe, in that situation.
Yes.
And so we've seen a decrease in that, I'm hoping.
So we are still seeing, there is a decrease, but we're still seeing that there's a disproportional impact with our Hispanic and Latinx victims. 30% of our individual robberies through the second quarter have 1+ such victim. And, but it was normal, lower than normally what we've had. So we're seeing a decrease, and it happens it happens in pockets, in spans of time. And this is, again, the trend, the groups that do this work. And so we're quickly able to identify those trends, get some of the information out, and we're ultimately able to make arrests, which stop that particular trend.
Okay. And you said 30% is down from our average?
Yes, 38%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
And then I saw that there was something about ages in the big report. juvenile offenses. And so I was wondering if you could speak to that a bit.
So our juveniles, we're seeing more juveniles that are committing more serious crimes. So our juveniles it's a disturbing pattern, but our juveniles they're not committing what I call minor offenses, the ones that, it's okay. Well, we can divert you, we can do these things. We're seeing juveniles that are committing violent crimes to include homicide. And it's very troubling. We are catching juveniles. We actually recently had a juvenile that had been participated in the shooting of the troopers. That juvenile reoffended twice. And were found with multiple guns each time. And we end up also charging that juvenile's parent as well of participating in the behavior. So it's unfortunate, but that's what we're seeing with the violent crimes.
And what about victims in that regard?
Yeah, so we're seeing victims, mostly the ages are a little bit older, so 18 to 21 and older victim range. We're not seeing as many juvenile victims, so to speak, but they are also very young adults.
Sorry to end on a bad note.
It's okay.
But I appreciate that.
No,
Those
it's
are
okay.
my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those were a couple of my questions as well. I appreciate you sharing that about young people and the work that we need to do around that important issue. Very troubling, I think is the right way to put it. I wanted to ask just one question, which is around the hiring of officers. And congratulations on the class. When we're recruiting for new officers, is there any incentive for recruiting of people who have skill sets that are relevant to the job? For example, social workers or other folks with those kinds of skill sets. Is there any incentive for those, or are we mostly just recruiting folks who are on the younger side, physically fit and out of college?
Yeah, so we do not have specific incentives for certain courses of study that they may have taken in college, or even life specializations, right? We're not doing that. Right now, our incentives are pretty broad that focus around language incentives and recruiting our veterans and bringing folks on in that way. However, one of the things that we do when we're doing the hiring process and even going through the pre-hires, we do talk about the work that we're doing with heart. We do talk about that because we do work as a co-response team and with crisis intervention. That is a large part of what we do. And we certainly want to be able to draw in by having those conversations. Potential candidates that can see themselves doing that and working in that way. So, and your second question or your third question, did I answer that?
No, yeah, that was
I want to make sure I got it all.
No, that was
Okay.
my question. That was my
Okay.
question. I think just commentary. I think having our police academy and our ability to instill Durham values through that training, I think that's incredibly useful, so that we're not just turning to recruiting officers from other places and other localities and other states and states that have more troubling cultures in their departments. And I think that because of that, through years of amazing work and your work, and the leadership that we've seen from the Durham Police Department, I think it's very unique, the culture that has been built in that department. And I think that's something that we need to hold on to and cherish and nurture and continue to build. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the highlight on Latino officers. I know that that's always a challenge and something that you and your staff have worked really diligently on. So just wanted to appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just similarly, I just wanted to welcome Alicia Banks and Sydney Breeze. It'll be interesting to see what it is you're doing, but yes, congratulations on your numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Thanks, Chief. Thanks for the report. Obviously, the high-level numbers are super encouraging. I know these numbers can go up and down, but I know that when the numbers are not looking good, we are critical of you and your team. So like you deserve you deserve credit for the numbers going down because it's a great report. So you deserve when the good news is good, you need to get the accolades. So thank you for that. It is also, I mean, obviously it's, at a moment where this issue is being politicized, let's be honest about that, in the nation's capital. These numbers, we are not unlike other cities that are seeing these numbers go down. So it's quite sad that that's what's going on at the federal level. I certainly hope and pray that this is not what's going to happen to Durham, right? So I'm concerned about that, as a lot of us are. So I just wanted to name that. I do have a couple of questions. I also want to thank you. I mean, the clearance rates are quite astounding, quite impressive there. So I want to thank you and your staff. I know a bunch of us went on a tour of the forensics lab, which I'm sure is part of that. So
yes.
That's that's amazing work, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. So thank you.
They're great.
The one question I have is that I know we've talked a lot in the past about guns being stolen from cars. And I know that we've talked about how do we get the word out to folks to make sure their guns are kept safe and not sort of open to someone to open the door or knocking on the window, but it seems like that's still a challenge. Is there anything else we can, I'm sure you're thinking about what else we could do to address that. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, we actually put on a gun safety kind of a mini course after hours. It was a couple of weeks ago, and we had some of our firearms instructors that came in, and we opened it up to our residents, and they came in and they were able to kind of get a crash course on responsible gun ownership, responsible gun handling. What does this look like on a gun? What does that, what are you responsible for when you're a gun owner? And one of the biggest things is securing firearms. And so we're hoping to continue that and doing that kind of little mini clinic regularly. And so staff will be getting some feedback from that and seeing if that was effective. I really wish more people would have signed up, and maybe we need to figure out, is it, because it was on a certain day or in an evening, do we need to do, I don't know. But we've got to figure it out, because I do think that we potentially could do more in that space. But the folks that we did have show up, I'm hopeful that it gave them a different perspective on that weapon that they have.
Thank you for that. And I hope our comms department, again, is helping the police department on that one to get the word out. So thank you again, Ms. Blaylock. Yeah. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chief.
Thank you.
This is when I say thank you, I mean thank you to you and your entire team. I will say to all of the, only CBS 17 is here. Thanks for coming and reporting on this, Ben. But I'll say to all of the media, no buts. No buts. Crime is down, but no, we are trending in the right way. It's not down enough, but we are trending the right way. And I know that a lot of this, we're reporting this in a reactionary way. This is the last quarter. It's partly of what's going on in the department. It's part of nonprofits out there doing amazing work. It's partly, just innovative policies such as HEART. And it's holistic, it's multiple things. And based on what we have coming up, I know that it's going to get even better with, homeless services being addressed through our community safety department. And, and just some of the more boots on the ground response work that we're going to be doing around young people. Thanks for the graphic that showed where the shots are happening. I would like to, and I want to be careful about this because I don't want to have unintentional redlining of communities because we're and I feel like this is where you were kind of going as well, Councilmember Cook. We want to know that information. Where is it happening? But I don't want to unintentionally redline a community because we put in a public setting. Oh, don't go to this neighborhood because look at this graphic in City Council's meeting. I'm conscious of how we communicate information on the public record. I'm going to think a little bit more about that. So thanks for that graphic. I do want more specific information, I think where Councilmember Cook was going, but I want to be sensitive to how we communicate that, if you know what I mean. Something else I'd like to see more, I'd like to see the ages of the offense, the violent crime offenders. And I think having the age range, not even the age range, like the hard data of the ages per case, not identity, but ages, I think that will help us as we're trying to have this more collaborative working relationship with our schools and the county to be more targeted in this proposal that's going to come soon for us to consider on how we address youth violence. I'm grateful to see the numbers up in the recruitment classes. This community went through a lot, and with the outcry of defund the police, I know where that came from, and I think that Durham did a really good job at responding to it. It didn't really mean defund. Some people did, yes. Some people wanted to get rid of y'all, but what it really meant was how do we have the right response at the right time to the right situations. And I think that Durham has done a really good job at responding to that, and now we're a national leader in it. And we're still evolving, so I think that we're on a really good pathway, trending in the right direction right now. But we can do even better. And I think the better we get at this, the more people are going to watch and want to try and conceptualize in their own communities what we've been able to do here. And part of it is having, a police force that's not only protecting or serving certain individuals or, losing their temperature and, losing control and locking someone up. I just really admire the personal relationships that our officers build with community members. Something between you and Councilmember Baker's conversation struck out about Durham values. And I would love to see, you said it, people are wanting to join the force for multiple reasons now. They may want to do the work that we do with heart. I think that's phenomenal, Like that is so, like the fact that you can join a law enforcement and have diverse options of engagement. And it's not just homicide or investigative work, it's community work. That being said, I would love to see, even whether it's marketing or whatever type of support from us, like getting the PALS program back or, just getting the numbers back to the point where we could, where the officers were able to go and do back to school shopping and I'm not sure if it stopped, but I know that
It hasn't.
Okay, good.
We still do
good.
that. We just finished up camps and it's been great.
Good.
PALS and that PALS is year round.
Okay, perfect. So I want to personally be able to promote more of that, and I think that if it's promoted, if the need is there, then we need to create spots. Because it's a phenomenal program, just changes, it has a positive view on law enforcement here in Durham. Yes. And that's something that we just do very well. And I want to make sure we're promoting the good work that's been done, and I don't want folks looking at our law enforcement officers thinking that all we doing is running around locking people up. That's not what happens in Durham. So I want to show all of what we're capable of. And so I'm just taking this moment to appreciate what has been done, what is been doing, and what is possible, and my commitment to helping to, to push those things. So if someone wants to apply and work for the department so they can do more community-based work, I think that's just phenomenal. I don't think that's happening anywhere else. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge, this has been a really great conversation, and I think sometimes we also miss that while Hart was a critical part of that, a lot of the work started a long time ago. I think the reason we were able to respond to George Floyd in a different way was that we were already doing the hard work in Durham and had been. There had already been deep reform in our police department. We already had written consent to search. We'd already done a lot of the things that communities, no chase policy, things like that. And so we are seeing lots of incredible, the kind of benefits at the end. And it took 10, 12 years. And so sometimes residents, especially when they're new, they don't know that history necessarily. So it's just, when we think about housing and we think about other things that are very hard and very, it's systemic, it's hard. Funding is always tight. We're dealing in a state with not great partners at the state level. And so it's just to highlight that to see the kind of fruition of work takes a long, long time. And I know that that's frustrating for residents, but I do think when I think about community safety in particular in Durham, how well we've done, and I'm going to knock on wood, and the ecosystem that's been created here, and that took a lot of thought partners. It took a lot of talent. I think that that's another piece. Who the players are and how they interact and how well they work together is a critical component of our success, and I do actually attribute that to you, a lot of that to you, Chief Andrews, and the staff that you lead and the team that you built. So I just want to push that out for residents especially, that yes, we deserve our win here, but it took a lot of work and it wasn't easy.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head. Institutional knowledge is going to be so key. The President of the United States has made it very clear that mid-sized to major-sized cities that have a Black mayor, they're coming after. That is just, that's not fodder or anything. That is on the record. You look at the cities here that he's named, it's us, but to Councilmember Calvio's point, to the work that's been done, I think more than ever, so whoever's in communications for the police department and our communications department, get ready to run the gamut. Get ready to itemize everything that's happened and evolved into our department, because when they bring that crap to the Bull City, we're gonna make sure that they know what has been done here and how we are trending down with all of this. And it does take a community effort. It takes a very holistic approach. We're not there yet, but we are trending the right direction. We are going to get better at it. And I think that we're better positioned than most because we've done so much, and it has been a long time coming. But I think we are reforming the way community safety looks. And so let's just get ready to itemize that list, what the evolution looks like. And every dang officer, every employee of our law enforcement should be proud to be able to say I was a part of this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, are we good? Do we need to take a quick break? We have one more presentation. If y'all guys want to keep pushing through. All right, guys, let's take 5 minutes. And that way I can tell Sean, hey, Sean, don't be too long-winded, and then I'm just joking. All right, see you guys in 5 minutes.
Recording stopped.
All right. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just saw these running. I may or may not have popcorn in my office on the table, caramel and white cheddar mix that I can't eat because of my Invisalign. And Councilmember Baker can't either, so if you all want to go in there and grab some, please. Also, Chapel Hill toffee is in there. It's just gifts, so just go in and get it. All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Patterson.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Evian Patterson, Assistant Transportation Director. I'm joined by Aaron Convery, Transportation Planning Manager today. And we're excited for this opportunity to speak with you about our community-led vision for the Durham Freeway. This is a study that acknowledges the historical harm caused by the construction of the freeway and charts a path rooted forward in equity, connectivity, and community-centered transformation. We'll cover 3 topics today. The first, a little bit about the purpose and historical context of the project. I'll speak a little bit about the community engagement strategy and findings, and then I'll turn over to Aaron to walk you through some corridor options for your consideration. A little bit about the project purpose. The goal of the Reimagine Durham Freeway study is to develop a vision of the future of the corridor that acknowledges and evaluates the impacts of the freeway's construction and reimagines the corridor as a space that reconnects communities and reflects the values of the residents of Durham. Neighborhoods like the original Hayti was a thriving hub and powerhouse of Black-owned businesses and institutions. This self-sufficient community represented economic strength, cultural pride, and community resilience, but policies and government decisions like redlining and urban renewal labeled Hayti and other Black neighborhoods as blighted. And in the 1970s, the construction of NC 147 destroyed and severed these communities, displacing over 500 businesses and 4,000 families, including the complete destruction of the Brookstown neighborhood in the West End. Promises were made to replace homes and businesses, but those promises were never kept. The freeway remains a physical barrier and a reminder of the loss to the vital communities of our great city. To illustrate what we mean about when we talk about reconnection and the importance of it, the map on the screen shows the current Durham Freeway corridor in yellow, overlaid on Durham Street grid prior to the freeway's construction. Each dot represents a location where there was once an opportunity to cross the freeway, connecting neighborhoods, businesses, and schools and places of worship. Of the 50 crossing locations, 34 were eliminated and only 16 remain today, those in green. This study is rooted on a foundation with a few more recent plans. In 2020, the city adopted the Move Durham plan, which included recommendations for several key corridors in central Durham. At that time, NCDOT had proposed a project to modernize the Durham Freeway, given that the aging facility is reaching the end of its useful life. The Move Durham study recommended postponing that project so that a comprehensive study for the freeway could inform any future projects. And more recently, in 2023, the Durham Comprehensive Plan was adopted to guide future land use in Durham. This planning includes a policy recommendation to support and resource a community-led effort to remediate past harms from the development of the freeway. So these plans have both shaped the work you will see today. We'll talk a little bit about the project team. The Reimagine Durham Freeway study, which is branded Pathways to Connection, has been led by the City Transportation Department. We also contracted with Idealisms and Be Connected Durham to lead the development of an engagement strategy for the project, building upon their deep-rooted relationships and trust within the communities most impacted by the Durham Freeway. Our technical team, led by WSP and several sub-consultant firms, includes planners, engineers, and analysts who were able to translate that community vision into feasible data-informed solutions. We're also supported by a technical committee comprised of a diverse group of professionals from local, regional, and state agencies. These members reviewed key milestones, evaluated corridor options, and provided critical feedback to align the work, our work with broader policy goals. And I'd like to take a moment to highlight two of the technical stakeholders on the right side of the slide. NCDOT involved in this, their involvement in the study was critical as they own the freeway facility. We met with NCDOT outside of the technical committee meetings to ensure regular communication and feedback on the project. We'd also like to recognize the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, which provided federal funding for the study under the Unified Planning Work Program. Institutional stakeholders also played a key role in this effort. These include representatives from Durham's educational institutions, nonprofits, businesses, and civic organizations. Some of these organizations, such as Durham's Community Land Trust, Durham Chamber of Commerce, Hayti Reborn, and Discover Durham, among many others. They have brought valuable perspectives from the organizations that shape daily lives in Durham and have helped us to increase the participation and build the trust and also advocate for the project. A little bit about the timeline. This timeline outlines the major phases of the vision study, which we will share more in detail over the course of the presentation. We were intentional and began by listening to the community, to gathering stories and concerns and aspirations rather than the traditional transportation approaches of coming in with predetermined solutions and asking for feedback. That input shaped the development of the corridor, which we refined through continued engagement and technical analysis. And so we're here to share those options with you today. The next step is to finalize a community-led vision with your input. Community engagement has been the real foundation of this project. We've had a focus on building trust and honoring the lived experience. I want to take a moment to also thank members from our Public Engagement Committee, comprised of grassroots community leaders and engagement ambassadors who helped shape our engagement materials and connected us with events to help us work within existing community networks. In our first phase of engagement, we gathered information about people's experiences, opportunities, and challenges to the freeway. We did so by collecting surveys and also in-person conversations with residents at community events. And what we heard was that people's biggest concerns were about safety and limited mobility options for physically crossing the freeway. And the major themes that started to emerge were how can we reimagine a Durham freeway to create better connections and crossings? How can we reinvest in communities impacted by the freeway's construction? And how can we envision a freeway that is designed or even removed? A little technical issues there. Okay. Got a little pause, technical issues. There we go. Thank you. And so as we move through that listening to shaping phase, we introduced a corridor treatment toolbox. This toolbox is a set of ideas and strategies that reflect what we heard from the community, and it helped us frame around 5 focus areas: history and belonging, safety, mobility, sustainability, and again, that equitable land use. These are the values that mattered most to the residents. And it's the lens through which that we have used to evaluate the future options of the corridor. And with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron to walk you through some of those corridor options.
Thank you, Evian. As Evian mentioned, my name is Erin Convery, Transportation Planning Manager with the Transportation Department. Thank you for having us today. So you just heard from Evian about some of the community priorities that we learned about through our initial phases of engagement. Those priorities, along with robust technical feasibility analysis, fed into the development of 3 corridor options that each reflect a different approach to reimagining the Durham Freeway. The options range from transforming the Durham Freeway into an at-grade urban boulevard, to capping the Durham Freeway with land bridges, to modernizing the Durham Freeway while reducing its footprint. Each option is scalable in the phasing of improvements, timing of implementation, and flexibility to incorporate elements from other options into some sort of hybrid approach. This flexibility ensures that the vision can adapt over time, balancing technical feasibility with those priorities we heard from residents and stakeholders. I want to mention that these options are at the visioning stage. We're not yet looking at detailed designs, but starting points for our discussion today. Additionally, I'll note that the visuals associated with each option that you'll see throughout the presentation focus on the central portion of the corridor, but the final vision plan will include recommendations corridor-wide. So our first option that we'll take a look at explores conversion of the Durham Freeway into an urban boulevard. This concept would transform the corridor by removing the limited access freeway that we have today and replacing it with a surface street that includes things like sidewalks and transit access. It would reconnect neighborhoods that were divided and could potentially open up land for housing, parks, and other community spaces. This option supports all 5 focus areas by reshaping land use and transportation along the corridor. It honors history by reclaiming some of the footprint of Hayti and other neighborhoods and reconnecting the historical street grid. It also improves safety with slower speeds and better crossings for all users, and promotes equitable land use and sustainability by creating space for community-centered development and green space. Here, we see a plan view of what a boulevard conversion could look like in the downtown area, highlighting the types of things we heard from residents that residents would like to see in the future of the corridor that this option could accommodate. These are not meant to be prescriptive, but to show the types of things that we heard from folks. Notably, this option could reclaim up to 20 to 22 acres of land, offering opportunities for reinvestment. To understand how travel patterns would shift under the boulevard conversion option, we used the Triangle Regional Model, which is a regional planning tool that simulates travel demand and behavior. The model shows that regional trips, including freight traffic that currently use the Durham Freeway, would largely shift to I-885 and I-85 around downtown Durham. The result would be a boulevard corridor that prioritizes local access, safety, and community connection while maintaining regional mobility through the surrounding highway network. To help visualize what a boulevard conversion could look like, we turn to Rochester, New York, where the city removed a segment of I-490 known as the Inner Loop East. Originally built in the 1950s, the Inner Loop was a sunken expressway that divided downtown from surrounding neighborhoods, creating a barrier to connection, safety, and economic growth. In response, Rochester removed a 2/3 mile segment and replaced it with a walkable boulevard. This transformation reclaimed 6 acres of land, enabled over 500 new housing units, 60% of which are affordable, and reconnected neighborhoods that had been separated for decades. The project also improved safety, eliminated outdated infrastructure, and created new intersections that support local access and economic development. Rochester is currently working on plans for removal of the next segment of the loop. So our next option explores the use of freeway caps, sometimes called land bridges, to reconnect neighborhoods across the Durham Freeway, building over the highway in key locations to create new public spaces and crossings. This option also incorporates certain freeway upgrades to improve Durham Freeway operations and the replacement of aging bridge structures, ensuring the corridor continues to function efficiently for regional travel. 3 potential cap locations have been identified along the corridor, including Fayetteville Street, Mangum Street, and further west at Duke Street. In terms of land use, this option offers the opportunity to create between 3 to 25 acres of space above and adjacent to the caps, depending on selection and phasing. This opens the door to potential land reuse and development opportunities on the caps for parks, plazas, and community facilities directly above what is now the Durham Freeway. This approach supports history and belonging by creating both symbolic and functional reconnections where the caps are constructed, as well as neighborhood gateway opportunities. The caps also create new green spaces that would foster social connection and provide environmental benefits. From a safety perspective, new bridge structures and caps enhance access for walking, biking, and transit in specific areas. This map highlights the travel pattern considerations that are shared both by the freeway cap option that we just saw and the freeway modernization option that we'll see in just a bit. In each case, the existing Durham Freeway remains a limited access corridor. That means that the travel model shows that the regional traffic, including commuters and freight, would continue to use the Durham Freeway as they do today. So this strategy balances that regional mobility along the corridor with reestablishing local connections that were lost during its construction. To help visualize this option, let's take a look at the Central 70 project in Denver. In this case, the Colorado Department of Transportation replaced a section of elevated Interstate 70 that previously divided neighborhoods in North Denver with a lowered section of highway and built a 4-acre park above. This park reconnects neighborhoods and provides space for recreation and community events. The Central 70 project also included improvements to stormwater management, air quality, and noise reduction to mitigate environmental justice issues in the surrounding neighborhoods. Lastly, we have the freeway modernization option, which retains the Durham Freeway through downtown while tightening its existing footprint and updating its infrastructure to improve vehicle flow and safety while offering safer crossings on reconstructed over and underpasses. It's an approach that aligns more closely with the former NCDOT project that Evian mentioned for the future of the corridor. From the plan view visual, you can see that while the Durham Freeway remains in place, this option allows for a reduction to its footprint in the downtown area by tightening the overall cross-section into the northern portion of the current corridor. This could reclaim approximately 14 acres of land in the existing right-of-way, creating opportunities for green infrastructure and stormwater improvements, and the potential for a linear park, which would offer opportunities for walking, gathering, and reconnecting neighborhoods along the corridor rather than across it. Overall, the modernization option maintains the freeway's function as a regional connector, but does not fully address some of the physical and social barriers that were created when the freeway was constructed. Next slide. Thanks. So to envision a freeway modernization, we look nearby to the I-40 business reconstruction project in Winston-Salem. Prior to its reconstruction, the corridor already had a more compact footprint compared to the existing Durham Freeway, opening up consideration of how a smaller footprint could be implemented here in Durham. Led by NCDOT in partnership with the City of Winston-Salem, the project was completed in 2020 using state, local, and private funding. The effort included replacement of bridges, reconfiguration of interchanges, and construction of wider sidewalks, a multi-use path through downtown, and 2 signature pedestrian bridges. This project offers a useful reference as we consider how to update infrastructure in ways that serve both regional mobility and local community needs in partnership with NCDOT. So what have we heard about these options? This summer, we brought these ideas back to the community at pop-up engagement events across the city. We heard the strongest positive sentiment for the Boulevard and Freeway cap options. Comments regarding the boulevard highlighted opportunities for reconnecting communities, increasing walkability, and shifting away from an auto-centric downtown, while concerns included traffic congestion and who would ultimately benefit from the project. For the freeway cap, participants liked that this option creates new public space to honor neighborhood legacy while retaining the mobility offered by freeway access. However, there were concerns about cost and long-term maintenance of elevated structures. Overall, the freeway modernization was seen as a less transformative vision, although better than what is there today. From a high level, regardless of the options, we heard that there is a strong preference for a future corridor that supports affordable housing, access to transit, and equitable development, and that minimizes displacement of existing residents and businesses. This will be a critical policy consideration as any project development continues. So now we circle back to our 5 community focus areas from the toolbox, each scored using a variety of qualitative and quantitative metrics to provide a preliminary evaluation of each option. The Boulevard conversion option aligns most closely with the focus areas, based on features such as reconnections of the street network and the potential for community investment in newly created parcels, which could include opportunities for affordable housing and Black-owned businesses. The freeway cap is next, driven by factors such as opportunities for gathering spaces that honor legacy and foster cultural connections, as well as creation of green infrastructure, stormwater management, and safer crossings. Lastly, we see the freeway modernization, which performs well in maintaining regional traffic flow and improving some safety features, but does not offer as many opportunities for repairing the disconnections created by the highway's construction. Additionally, as you've probably noted, this table shows rough order of magnitude cost estimates for each option. These numbers are based on preliminary vision level concepts and would be refined in any future phases of study, but potential costs range from approximately $350 million for freeway modernization to $450 million for boulevard conversion. Looking at the freeway cap option, you'll see a large range of costs from approximately $450 million to $800 million or more, depending on the number and phasing of those caps. So as we conclude today's presentation, we look ahead to the next steps for the Reimagine Durham Freeway study. The project team will be finalizing a vision plan that reflects the values, priorities, and lived experiences shared by the community throughout this process, as well as your feedback. We will also continue coordination with NCDOT and engagement with our stakeholders. To this end, the city has been in conversation with institutional partners who are well positioned to convene and facilitate discussions on future phases of study, such as Durham Next. So before we wrap up, I'd like to ask Tara Kenshin, the Executive Director of Durham Next, to say a few words about their role in next steps.
Good afternoon, Mayor Williams, Council, leadership. Thank you for having me. As you know, my name is Tara Kenshin. I know Aaron said that, and I am the new Executive Director for Durham Next. So I'm happy to be here. As you know, Durham Next has been formed to serve as a community partnership building organization to help move forward projects that enhance our community. We haven't taken a position yet on which of the 3 options were presented, but we have an interest in partnering with the city's transportation department to further explore components of the project that align with the destination master plan and advance Durham as the best place to live, work, and to visit. So if it would be helpful, Durham Next is willing to work with the staff of the transportation department to convene a group of transportation stakeholders that would include the city, NCDOT, RTA, Triangle West, and others, to explore the engineering and financial feasibility of the project and to define next steps. These next steps can assess the options in terms of viability, opportunity, and cost, and alignment from the partners whose participation and support will be critical as we move any project forward. And then that information can be brought back to council in follow-up reports on the project. Thank you. I'll turn this back over to Aaron on this side.
Thank you, Tara. And to Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you all for your time today. Your support and feedback helps us move forward with a vision plan that honors Durham's past and helps us build a more connected future. We also know that there was a lot of information that was shared today, both in the presentation and materials attached to the memo. So once you've had more time with the materials, you're also welcome to share any additional input with the city manager, who will work with staff to ensure council priorities are reflected in the final vision plan. With that, we are happy to answer any questions you may have today. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Councilmember Cook.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Thanks to you both for that information. Can you give us a timeline for the final vision plan?
Yeah, so I think some of that depends a little bit on what these next steps look like with a potential partnership with Durham Next. But overall, we will be taking feedback that we get from council, and we are working on all the prior pieces of the project that will go into the division plan. Those pieces are being worked on now. I think the remaining question is if the vision plan will include a preferred alternative. And so some of the feedback we hear today and in future conversations will help inform that timeline. But right now we're aiming for end of calendar year.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm a bit confused. So
Sure.
My understanding of the final vision plan was that I guess I don't understand why we need to know if there's going to be a partnership or not for the timing of this vision plan, because this is we're looking at the things that have already been done with all of
Correct.
the steps that you showed us in the
So we could go ahead and proceed and finalize vision plan by end of calendar year as those conversations continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not exclusive. Yeah, I guess I'm immediately struck because every time that someone has talked to me about this, they have called it a freeway cap. And now I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, this conversion, I think this chart is really telling. It's the same or on the earlier end of expense of a freeway cap, and it's meeting all of our local focus goals in weight, like it looks like it kind of blows everything else out of the water. And I know you kind of said that there were 2 projects that were liked more, but I mean, in terms of the popularity and feedback from the community, like the Boulevard conversion seems like it has almost double of the support of the freeway cap. So this is not a critique or anything, just a statement that I want to make, which is that I find it really interesting that this conversation has been called freeway cap when there's like another, maybe even more viable option. And it makes me have a little bit of like trepidation, because I'm like, what are the factors then that are going into why that has been the name that this project has been given? And like, if the community is saying something totally different, like what sort of like other voices are coming into that conversation? So it's just something that I'm thinking about and just wanted to kind of say out loud, because yeah, that is not the name of this project, right? And so anyway, that's all.
So I think one thing I want to maybe mention there is I think there are a lot of conversations for years predating this project that have been about the future of the Durham Freeway and in parallel with this project. This project, as Evian mentioned at the beginning, we tried to come in really intentionally without a preconceived notion of what the ultimate option coming out of this would be. We tried to start with those community priorities. So this project has not assumed a freeway cap as the intended outcome. And so that's why we're here today sharing these 3 different options that all in different ways reflect some of those community priorities that we've heard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Okay.
I was just going to ask, I know usually we get some information about who the study or who participated in the study. Do you have that information? Can you share that?
We do. So we have linked, I believe in the memo, our phase 1 and phase 2 engagement summaries, which include much more in-depth information about how many folks, demographics, what types of events and things like that we participated in. High level, I can share that our first round of engagement really was aimed at a breadth approach. We were out at a lot of community events trying to share information about the project, do that listening piece. We then followed that with several more dedicated neighborhood community meetings that were intended to, when we got to the point of that toolbox that Evian was describing, it was a little more meaty and needed some more in-depth discussion. So those were some more focused neighborhood meetings. And then most recently, with these options, staff was out this summer more at kind of pop-up tabling kind of events, sharing information back out with folks. Worked with our community partner organizations to really try to identify those events that might help us reach folks who are impacted by the freeway, but maybe aren't the folks who are going to come to, a standalone public meeting, that type of thing. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you've got specifics, but we do have that information available as well.
Councilmember Chris.
I'm not sure if I'm seeing what you're referring to, but the links show like flyers and like some bars, but is there like a grid or anything like that?
Sorry, when you say grid.
Which one are you in?
I'm in the phase 1 link.
And I have a hard copy of it here if that would be helpful.
Yeah, and it's like, it starts on page 20, the demographics do. It goes through a lot of different questions that we posed.
Thank you.
Councilmember Riss, go ahead and we'll come back.
Thank you, Ms. Convery and Evian and the team. So first of all, it's so exciting. It's about time Durham got to this. I think the more, people on this council, I'm sure, I know Councilmember Javier and I were in Providence at this year's conference of that's right, you were there. Oh, Congress for New Urbanism. So Providence has decommissioned a freeway, right? Tulsa's done this. A lot of communities now, we were we're in Richmond last year, they got a freeway cap. So numbers of communities are now getting to ways to address the as Evian described, these intense harms this freeway has caused this community. So I'm so glad that we've done this initial work and are thinking about how do we move forward. It's so critical for Durham. So I have a couple questions, but let me start background. So Evian, can you say more about this previous proposal from DOT to do work on the freeway that I think you just referenced that, but as I understand, there was that proposal and we we stalled that, right? So say more about what DOT initially had planned, because I want to talk more about their role in this whole piece. Yeah, okay.
Sure, yeah, so there was a previous DOT project that was proposing some freeway modernizations, is the term they use. I know we're also using that term as well. It was looking at things like improving ramps. As you can imagine, with the time frame that the freeway was built, it is no longer up to kind of current design standards. So improving on-ramps and off-ramps. They were looking at potentially eliminating some on and off ramps, given that right now there's some close spacing between those, and some safety improvements, things like auxiliary lanes that help when a car breaks down, making sure there's still through travel access for emergency vehicles, things like that. That was in very early stages. As Evian mentioned, the Move Durham plan identified a need for a more comprehensive look at the future of the Durham Freeway corridor before moving ahead with that project. And so worked with DOT to, as you mentioned, kind of press pause on that, let some of this work catch up so that I think a big part of this vision plan is to be able to say what Durham wants out of a future freeway project versus just maybe not
Pumping
that.
tools, yeah. So that's helpful. So I kind of want to go further there. And I'm not that interested in this sort of like that plan for DOT, but I just wanted to ask that because DOT still owns their road, right? And so I guess my question is, in part, like if we did nothing, like what's the expected life of the freeway? At some point, like it's sort of no longer functioning, right? Is that like 5-10 years? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think to answer that question, we can look to the example that we shared from Winston-Salem. That facility is about 10 years older than the Durham Freeway, and that project was completed in 2020. So I will say that in the most recently adopted state transportation improvement program, which is the state's program, there is not currently a modernization project for the Durham Freeway, and that has a 10-year horizon. So we have the example of Winston-Salem to look at as a kind of time frame reference, but there is not a current DOT project for this upgrade and modernization.
And so, right, that's very helpful. So I guess my question in part is then, as we look at the cost, the cost is substantial, right? Any way you slice it, any of the plans. But it seems like, for example, in the cap plan, for example, you could cap the freeway, but the freeway itself could be just disintegrated anyway. So what do you do with the freeway, even though you got a cap over it, if the freeway is crumbling, right? So to me, that one feels a little bit, we could make a nice cap, but if the freeway itself is in need of modernization, that in some ways doesn't help us. And that's why I guess the boulevard idea seems a little better because we actually are addressing the fact that the road itself needs to be modernized. We don't want it to look like it's looked for all the reasons we've talked about. So that seems to me like a compelling way to think about how do we still have that as an artery, but like dramatically change it and modernize it in ways that benefit the community where we're claiming land. So I just wanted to reflect on that.
Yeah, and one thing I will mention, we didn't get into the nitty-gritty of cost estimates, but the freeway cap cost estimate that y'all saw today does include some elements of freeway modernization. To your point of, the issue of the aging facility is still part of the picture, even if we are looking at freeway caps. So those have been folded in. Some of those costs have been folded in to the freeway cap costs as a cohesive project cost.
And then, so of the three options, is it, if you could sort of crystal ball, like, are there some of those that DOT might likely pay more of than others? I mean, what's the expected DOT contribution to the different models? If you could sort of.
Sure. So the freeway modernization is the closest aligned with kind of what a DOT project for this corridor would look like. And so in the example in Winston-Salem, essentially what happened there is the state pays for what they would do for a project, and then the city is responsible for what are called betterments. So any of those pieces that go kind of above and beyond. In Winston-Salem, they also had a large fundraising arm that brought private dollars to the project, but that was kind of the breakdown of how that split between state and then any additional funding towards a project like that.
Is it fair to say then that the state would likely pay, of the three options, likely pay a greater share of the modernization than they would of, say, the boulevard?
I think that's the one we have the best model for understanding what the state's contribution would look like.
The modernization one?
Correct.
So the boulevard is less clear?
Correct.
And I guess, this is all very helpful. I guess the last thing to say is obviously, maybe the elephant in the room is the fact that, like, right, we started this project when there were federal dollars to do these kind of freeway things. Those dollars are gone, at least for now, right? And so I guess my final question is, what's the most important thing we can do as a community because the dollars aren't there right now, right? So what's the best thing we can do to make sure we're ready to go when the next dollars maybe are available? And is that not where we are?
Yeah, I think from examples we've seen in other communities, first I'll mention that projects like these were happening before the huge influx of funding that came with the previous administration. But in addition to that, I think the thing we see is these projects take a lot of time and coordination and stakeholder engagement, and keeping that momentum going, even though those dollars aren't there right now, I think helps keep If you look at even of the examples we showed today, and as you mentioned, there are many others across the country, we're looking at kind of 10, 15-year timeframes from, visioning to any sort of project implementation when you factor in design, funding, acquiring funding, et cetera. And so I think keeping that momentum going, knowing that the landscape could look very different in 10 years, in 2 years, however, than it does at this moment in time. This is a long-range vision, and we need to keep that in mind.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your presentation and for all of your work. It's exciting when we get to step back and do a big visioning process, something like this. I mean, this would be truly transformational. It could be truly transformational in core parts of our city. A couple questions. So I think, and Councilmember Roos, I think you got some of my main questions here, but I just wanted to hear if there was anything else about sort of NCDOT's reading a temperature on NCDOT from this. It sounds like NCDOT, there's more that we understand about what they would put in if it were the modernization versus Boulevard. Is that right?
Correct. I will say that NCDOT has been an engaged stakeholder on this project. We've been working with folks from Division 5, from our local district here, as well as the Integrated Mobility Division and the Transportation Planning Division. So they are plugged into this. They're part of our technical committee, and we also do regular briefings with them outside of the technical committee to ensure that kind of regular feedback. We also are very aware that they own the facility, and so want to be making sure that in addition to the community priorities we've really focused on today in our presentation, that we're also capturing the metrics that DOT is interested in seeing in some of their decision making. So they have been coming along the way with us. But I think were we to move forward with maybe one of the less traditional DOT type projects, there would be, a lot of continued coordination needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, thank you for that. These dollar values, I'm sure they're kind of, pretty rough at this point, right?
These are very order of magnitude.
Right, yeah. So I would imagine they're probably not really factoring in kind of the real estate value that would be created by modifications that we add, 25 acres or 20 acres.
Correct. So these are reflected of kind of construction costs. We do recognize that there is that piece of the puzzle. On that same slide, we did include just the acreage amounts to kind of as a proxy for that. I do think an economic impact analysis is one of the things we've identified as if we were to scope future phases of study, that would be a key element in some of those next phases.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Obviously, the construction of the Durham Freeway was a notorious urban planning disaster. I don't think anyone in the room would deny that. And then in looking at our priorities as a city and our priorities along that corridor, if costs were not an issue, if NCDOT were going to cover anything, I mean, just based on what you're showing us, and assuming that there were not major anticipated unintended consequences or impacts. The Rochester example that you showed us in the presentation is a little bit different because it's just a loop around downtown, and this is a regional connector. So I think obviously traffic flows, and I see the traffic studies in here. But assuming, North Carolina Department of Transportation is not always on the cutting edge. And so if they looked at the numbers and said, yeah, traffic flow, it looks good. The boulevard from the metrics that you're showing us obviously looks like a fantastic example of something that we would move forward with. I'm sure there'd be people who wouldn't like that idea of converting it away from a limited access road, but I think a lot of the metrics point in a positive direction there. But really, all of these are improvements. They're all improvements. And so, I think there's some that are more exciting than others. It's hard to really provide clear direction to you because of all of the unknowns. But I do think that, setting aside all of the uncertainties, the Boulevard option is the most exciting. But if there was some combination of, capping the freeway and modernizing the freeway, I think that would be an amazing option moving forward. If we had to put in more dollars for the Boulevard option than for that other option with local dollars, maybe that would tip the scale and we want to move in that direction instead, because we have other transportation priorities, BRT and keeping the buses free and everything. So I hope this has been clear as mud to you. That's where I'm at.
Great, thank you.
I look forward to receiving more information moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation. Good to see you all in person and not just on a Zoom like
Yes.
usual. I had a couple questions. I guess one big question is who owns the land on that acreage? So like the slide with all the options,
So currently the area we're looking at is all NCDOT right of way. So the question of who would own that land in the future is a question that would need more study. That has not been determined at this visioning phase.
Thank you. And I'm just curious because I was surprised to see because I guess maybe it just depends on how much you're capping, right? Is that why the range is from like 3 acres to 25 acres?
Correct. So if you recall, we showed 3 different caps that have been identified as the most feasible based on roadway geometry, topography, all those technical considerations. There is a world where Durham could decide to pursue 1 cap and be looking at, a much smaller area of land, or, thinking very long-term, if we're looking at a phasing out of 3 caps, that gets at a lot more acreage.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate all the work that's been done. We all know that something has to happen here. I completely understand why NCDOT wants to do a modernization. That's kind of where their visioning lives. Having traveled on that 421 piece quite a bit, it's certainly an improvement, absolutely, compared to where it was, but it is not, you're not getting the benefits of what you could do with the land, which I think is what is of interest to communities.
Like 421 in Winston.
Yeah, the old 421, or Business 421, whatever it's named now, that's the route to
Salem Parkway.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah, exactly. I'm always like, wait, what's this one again? But I can see why the reconnection piece and then the access to land are, in my mind, what are the big benefits to community, right? So I think definitely interested in, obviously, conversations that need to continue, definitely interested in that economic development piece of it. What are the, I can see, the reason that they're popular in so many communities is because people have done incredible things. They've built housing, they've put parks, they've done a lot of community benefit projects on them, so that's why they're popular. Whatever needs to happen to keep us moving on this conversation, like, thank you, Durham Next. I want it to continue. I want us to I could be wrong. I doubt any of us will be on this dais when there's a ribbon cutting, right? Like, or maybe if we are, we're using canes or something. But I want whoever gets to really benefit from that decision, whichever generation's coming forward, I want them to be able to look back and be like, yeah, that was smart. Those people back then were so smart. Unlike the people from however 50 years ago. But I think that having had to work with NCDOT quite a bit, continuing conversations, really having to lobby and push them to have a different vision of what they currently often do on these types of projects is critically important. We will not succeed in any real way if we don't do that. I certainly believe that, when Durham Next was created, that this was I certainly hope that there would be that community entity to help be a convener in that way, because I know that there's often limitations on government, on city government, and what they can do. And I think that, I think the piece around the land ownership, because I'm looking at these wonderful I know they're renderings, right? But it's like outdoor gathering and celebration space. You're like, great, but who owns the land, right? Like, that's not going to be an option if it's not something that the city can really help drive. So that's where my thoughts are. Again, thank you so much. I know this has been a long time coming. I am obviously, this was all the reconnecting communities Biden dollars, right? And Justice 4040, I think is what they were called, Justice 2040. And it was so much of those infrastructure projects that were a deep understanding of how communities were damaged and how to fix it. And since the federal government is the one who, we obviously, the city had a role, but it was a federal program with federal dollars and a federal vision. And so it made sense to me that they were the ones who were putting up the money to fix that. So it is deeply disappointing that now for communities to really fix the thing that we didn't necessarily fund, right, at least not fully, we're going to get caught holding the bag. And that's not a great place to be in. I will also say with the NCDOT, for those of us who sit on the TPO, funding is going to be tight with all of the Helene repairs. And that is we already have so many local projects, so many things in the STIP that we're like, is this even going to move forward? Because again, the federal government is also not ponying up at the level that we were hoping on Helene repairs. So that's going to put us in a tricky spot. And so whoever is helping move us forward, that's all super important context and hard context. Again, thank you so much for this, though.
Thank you.
Any other comments, colleagues? All right, while go ahead.
Just on the land piece, I think it's a really important question, right? Who owns that? I mean, who would own that land? And I think there's a compelling interest in returning that to community ownership on some level. I know in Tulsa, when they decommissioned the Freeway, I think they put some of the land, all the land, in a community land trust. That's one option. I know also, like in Providence, right? I think since they decommissioned, what was it, 195 that went to Providence, they've actually, in Providence, they asked that some of that land be held in, I think they wanted to return it to like private businesses to have some business presence as well. So I think there are different ways to think about how to use that land. I'm sure you probably thought a lot about that, but there's different models. But I think it's an important conversation to figure out like who does own that land going forward.
Thank you for this work. To Councilmember Cook, you probably heard freeway cap a lot because I've talked about boulevard or freeway cap or something a lot publicly. I just know that something has to be done. And we got to get this right. We have to get it right. I just want to put some things in the atmosphere. I don't want to be old and gray when this is done. Once we decide what way we're going with it, let's make the investment and let's get it built, and let's get it built fast as possible. Because we deserve it, the community deserves it. And we need to think big. We need to think, what is possible, what can be epic. Because this is a main thoroughfare that goes right through the city. So let's take advantage of that. Let's not be modest about it. Anything we look at is going to be expensive. And I do think, the federal administration that we have now, it's not going to be always. There are going to be opportunities that are going to come before us again, just like before. I remember, and I talk about this often because it was so jarring when Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, he said, Leo, could you step over here for a second? Mayor, when are you guys going to have some direction on that 147 study? And I just remember thinking in my head how much money was going out the door, that we probably could have put toward this. So I don't want to be waiting forever. I don't want to wait years to restore and repair the Haytop community. I don't, or reconnecting our communities in general. So I hope that, as you all are moving forward, you're thinking about what that looks like. Durham Next was also, to my understanding, created to help make these things possible, to explore all options beyond just the bureaucracy of a traditional government. You have the agility and the flexibility, And I hope that, you'll be able to work with us on this and make that happen. But yeah, it can't be, we studied for 10 years, it didn't take 20 to build something, and in 30 years, nobody remember why we even did it. And that's government, and that doesn't have to be the case. One thing I didn't hear a lot about, which there's a lot we didn't hear a lot about, because we just aren't there yet. But I do want to hear the economic case. We got to stop going with just the random community member said X, Y, Z. I'm guilty of that. We were elected to make decisions and to deliver. And asking questions forever is not delivering. That's part of the process. So I'm looking forward to making a decision on what will be best for the community at large and getting there. And we have to, and considering where we're talking, I hope that we're going to look at where the Hayti community is, because that is what was really torn apart. You did not use this one. I took a visit over to the Clyde Warren Park in Dallas, Texas. They put an amphitheater on their freeway cap. And their freeway was dilapidated. It's ugly. I mean, talk about an eyesore. And on one side of the highway is the arts district. On the other side was just some corporate offices or whatever. They capped it. And this is why I talk about the freeway cap so much, because I've seen it work. They capped it, they created their own authority, and they're generating $6 to $9 million a year in just revenue from the concerts that come out and that they have at the amphitheater. They also have restaurants on it. They have permanent food trucks on it. And when they built that, there was a commercial district that came with it, and now they're generating almost $1 billion in just that area alone in Dallas, Texas. And it was able to, every community around it was able to benefit from it. So I think we have an amazing opportunity here. And I want us to think big. And I want us to think, what can be best for Durham? And I just don't want to hear another Durhamite say, look at Raleigh and what they got in Midtown with their park, or look at Cary and their park. Like, we are not Raleigh, we're not Cary. You want to beat them, go move there. We're Durham, and we can do nice things. And this is an opportunity for us to prove that. So I'm interested in the economics around that as well. That being said, I'd like to see our Office of Economic Workforce Development at the table on this conversation as well. When downtown revitalized, it was out of that office as well. So I would like to see them in this conversation, working hand in hand with our county partners. And, we have to make economic sense as we repair our communities, and also be conscious that, we can be as aspirational as we want, but relationships do matter, and we're going to have to work with DOT on this. So I don't want to mislead people thinking that, oh, that's the best option, we're going to go with that. We don't even own any acreage. But I do think there's an opportunity. DOT really doesn't want to do it, in my opinion. They don't really want to do much with it, so we can provide them a plan that makes sense. And they may own the land in the right of way, but this is going to be really beneficial for us here. I would be interested in exploring what does it look like to buy that land from them, as part of this, to where we own it, or we just determine what goes there. There's so many things we can do, so many things. So I say all that to say, let's not have a scarcity mindset. Let's not have a restrictive mindset. Let's not put barriers in the front of creativity, and let's go big. So, Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I appreciate the mayor's comments, and the amount.
I feel like there's a but coming. You always
No. Well, I would say I'm very mindful that I live near a road that was in the same mindset in 1965, and it's still incomplete today.
Jesus.
With Highway 55 and Austin
bad.
Avenue, between Maine and what is that? M147. So I appreciate that very clearly. Like, it shouldn't take over 60 plus years to get to that point, but it's likely that that will happen. I will say that I was trying to look through the state STIP, the State Transportation Improvement Plan, just to kind of see where we are, because acknowledging like we've got over 65 projects in that currently, I don't want to knock any of them out of the running, but I also want to be real mindful, like as the mayor said, this community has seen that type of harm in a way in which we want to be reparatory, and if we have an opportunity to do that, this is a great chance. And so I do agree that it should move forward in planning, but I do understand, like, some of these projects here, they're from 2020 and, it's 2025. And so getting into the STIP to even get the funding from the state, and then also matching that with any federal funding, all takes coordination. And of course, grateful that we have Durham Next to kind of usher that through in a very consistent way with a steady hand. I'm excited that this has come forward. I was excited when then Representative David Price agreed to find the funding to make it happen, and then Representative Fushi continued to support. And so I know the thousands of hours that community members have poured into this, which is why I was like, where's the demographic? Like, how are you not highlighting this? But then I had to think about a few things, and I'm good. I'm good. Don't highlight. But this is definitely, the beginnings of what it looks like to address that harm. And it could take another 25 years. And what that looks like, what it does and what it means isn't something I'm going to be able to tell you today. But I can say that I would like to hear more about the economics. I would like to hear more about kind of what pots of funding could be in place, and then also what pots of money might not be in place, like, because those cuts are relevant. And yeah, there's so many projects that have to happen, and this is one, like, on the side of, this is how we bring the equity back into the way that our state projects are funded too. So I'm like balancing, but I want to be really clear. What I don't want to do is tax the future on it. So I don't want us to just say we're going to put a bond together to cover it, because that's just taxing our future residents in a way that they have no say-so. This is a project that we should be able to figure it out. I feel like the next 5 years it might not happen, but in the 5 years following, you never know. You never know, and we should be ready and prepared with a plan.
Let me tell you something. When you get Councilmember Freeman and me on the same page,
Never.
when this happens,
It's usually around economic development.
it is around economic
In a very
development.
African-American, Black community.
I hope you get that. Let's move. All right.
Great, thank you all.
All right. You ready to settle this out? Oh, other matters, yes. You had something on other matters, right? Within your priority items, and then you had the Fourth Amendment. All right, we're not done. Let me go here first. Councilmember Cook.
So I have talked with everyone here. Yes, I have. I am interested in bringing up for our next work session some code that would go into our housing code. Sorry, I was like not prepared for this. Okay, our housing code that is similar to something that's on the books in Charlotte, and I've had several conversations with the attorney's office, and this is being brought by some students at Hillside, their housing group that they have formed. Riverside. Oh, I said the wrong one. Sorry, Riverside. It's been a long day already. Multiple jobs. Okay, so our Riverside housing group of students has brought this forward. It was something that I had been thinking about, and I think other folks had talked about previously with tenants' rights work, that would disallow units that are in failing status on some number of specific dangerous or harmful habitability issues from collecting rent from tenants, mostly to be used in eviction court by attorneys. So I have some draft language from the students along with a memo, if anybody wants to read that. I think I sent it to a few folks already. And so this is just asking for a thumbs up to have a little bit of staff time so that folks can call their counterparts in Charlotte and just see how implementation works. And then also to bring a draft of it on the next work session for discussion.
And is that a draft of a resolution or draft of ordinance, or what, like draft of what?
It would be an ordinance, yeah, so, yes, I can. I think that the draft that came from the students is probably not the final that we will present. They were very overzealous, which I appreciate, but I think maybe not all of the things that are listed on there are gonna work. But I'm happy to send y'all what I have so far and can send you a final version before it comes on the work session.
So you're sending that to us. I think I have it. You sent it to me, right? But what we're talking about today is just having staff kind of look at what's going on in a neighboring municipality, Charlotte.
Yes. And giving
Just kinda
the attorney's
looking
office
into
some
it.
time because I think that they will have some comments on it in a couple weeks.
There it is. Sorry. Has the city manager been
Yes.
looped in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is specific to, oh, thank you. Specifically to grant time to staff to do some research into that since
Yeah,
it'll
because I think
live
we've
in the code.
done our due diligence.
Yes.
But I know they need to do some things on implementation and things like that.
Yeah.
So this would then come back next work session as an agenda item.
Yes.
I think we need to follow, we need to hear from staff first. Administration, but there's gonna be some legal things we need to look at it as well, because
Sure, and we've actually previously provided guidance to the council, our feedback on the legal status of this, back when you all were considering Bull City Tenants United, okay. So we can circulate our legal analysis of what's being proposed. It hasn't changed because the statutes haven't changed. But I think what's important is for the administration to have an opportunity to kind of vet it, talk to their counterparts, see who and how this is implemented and enforced, that sort of thing.
And there have been changes since you circulated that.
Well, there's been that,
Yeah.
you sent me an
Unpublished
unpublished
case,
Court of Appeals case from earlier this year. That's true, yes. And we haven't, I saw it first today, so I
Yes,
haven't
for sure.
read it yet.
Yeah.
So this would come back then when it's ready, is what, yeah.
yeah, I would suggest we not put a timeline on this until we can get an okay from administration.
Okay, then I would ask that we get the okay from administration at some point in time prior to the next work session so that it can be put on for the work session afterwards, because I don't want it to linger. Especially since it came from community.
So you're suggesting, just so it gives enough time, it would basically be the second work session in September, the 18th?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, if that feels doable. I don't think it's much from what I talked to the manager that he's looking for, so hopefully that should
that's
be a
fine.
good timeline.
All right? Yours.
Thank you. This is just, we have a title. I would like the resolution to just be on our next council agenda, the Fourth Amendment workplace resolution, because I think City Clerk Schreiber was asking if it was for the next one. It's for Monday night, or sorry, Tuesday, because of Labor Day. It's for Tuesday, September 2nd, and I just want to make sure that folks are aware. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Council
all right.
meeting, because everyone's seen the language already.
Right, you gave us a physical copy. I counted that as been
Ready.
given to the council, so.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Were there any, I know there were some changes that,
No one has sent me any changes. The only thing we were missing was a title. And,
I had some
well, then send them, because it's going to show up on the 2nd.
questions. Okay, I'll look.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Mary Grace Stone King to come up and facilitate our discussion about the organizational meeting.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. So I'm Mary Grace Stone King, Assistant to the City Manager. As y'all remember, while reviewing our 2026 City Council meeting schedule, Council brought up the December 2025 organizational meeting. So we wanted to bring this back just for discussion today, because many of you, and to get really clear guidance on it, because if we are to cancel or reschedule that regular business meeting, we will need to then add an agenda item for a different agenda before that to, for council per your rules of procedure, to adopt an ordinance amending the meeting schedule for 2025. After some discussion and listening to the remarks of council from our last work session, staff does not recommend canceling the December 1st regular business meeting, as well as the November 20th 2025 work session. The reasoning behind that is because canceling that would be canceling an entire agenda cycle, which would mean potential delays in critical business items such as contracts, could delay projects and other public hearings that might come before council. Our recommendation, if council still does not want to have the organizational meeting the same night as the regular business meeting, we suggest potentially adding a regular business meeting or rescheduling it to December 2nd and having December that night, and December 1st being the organizational meeting. Council could also consider inviting newly elected officials to that November 20th work session to attend as residents or observers so that they can hear the items and discussions that come up and be informed for that December 2nd council meeting. So we wanted to just seek clear direction on whether you want to proceed with December 1st business meeting following the organizational meeting, or prefer to add a December 2nd meeting, and if so, we'll do the necessary follow-up to give that ordinance amending if you so choose to change the schedule.
Now, I don't think we should cancel any meetings. It will throw things off. I remember when I got elected, you all had some pretty heavy things on the agenda, and I just remember sitting up there like a deer in headlights. I was planning to ask the manager if we could consider some type of orientation of newly elected members. I know the orientation. I'm talking about like going over the actual agenda items prior to, and then for information purposes, just so they'll know what they will be voting on the night of. And if it's the same people, then I think we're fine. We don't need that. I think the best option is probably adding an additional meeting that would be separate and prior to the first business meeting after the election. Because we have that grace period between the election and the first, that December 1st is the first regular meeting. So between November 4th and between November 4th, so we're talking November 5th through, I don't know, the end of November, considering the holidays, there needs to be an additional meeting that would be the organizational meeting. So it's better to add something special to the calendar rather than cancel. That makes sense?
Mr. Mayor, the meeting that she was adding was actually having a meeting 2 days back to back, where the first day would be the organization meeting, the second day would be the business meeting. The work session before would be when you would invite those persons to come so that they would hear the items in the work session, and then we'd have the organization. That is one option. To pick another day.
I think that's the best option. I'll cut it right there. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. We're the only, I mean, school board and county commissioners get sworn in separate. It's never tied to business. So figure out how they do it and come back. I mean, the reason we're separating it is because there has been 2 different organizational meetings where we have moved, last minute, moved zoning cases, which I find to be more disruptive because council members who had just been sworn in did not, and this is, I totally get it. I understand when I did it, I was like, this is not good practice. It is not good practice for the applicants either, right? Because they have brand new folks who are making determinations for them. So that is where the intent came from. That is what the procedure intent was that in my mind, we are opening ourselves up to some certain things from applicants in the future. And school board members and county commissioners get sworn in a separate way and are not tied to business. It's not hard to figure out. So whatever that solution is from them, we need to.
The school board members, I know the county commissioners are sworn in that morning.
But they don't take up business. It's just an organizational meeting. We pulled the language as an organizational meeting partly from how other places were doing it.
Yeah, so they could just be sworn in that morning, and then the
And
meeting
then
would just
they're
be the
done.
regular meeting.
Yeah. So that's.
Still gonna be a deer in headlights, whether you do it the day after or not, like, it's the same.
We'll have that time after that November 20th work session. We'll have time, like, even up till then. We have like from November 5th up to that date. And this is only if it's different people. Up to that date to prepare for even that work session. And then from that work session up.
Well, what I would say is if you're looking at the calendar, that whole week is Thanksgiving essentially. And you're not gonna get.
That is true.
Yeah, so I would just say to just kind of do the morning and then, separate it that way.
I'm just gonna put it out there that I am not available for a meeting in the evening of December 2nd. So I won't be there, and I would, December 2nd, if we're gonna do the 2 nights in a row, I cannot do December 2nd. I have a class, and it's my final class, and I'm so not available. Would not like to miss either the business meeting or the swearing in, so.
I think this was also, sorry. I think this was discussed a lot with the procedures because there was conversation on how would it get managed because of the whole, well, could the swearing in happen earlier? And because of Thanksgiving, it kept being a problem. That's the difference on our calendaring, is that, folks could get sworn in earlier, but then you always run into the holiday week or almost always run into the holiday week. So that's where I think that's why we left it the way we left it, was because there wasn't a good solution other than it's just an organizational meeting on it and things get moved accordingly. Sorry, it's been a long time.
I feel like you have no more information that you came with.
Yeah. My question is, so I heard a couple of either having a separate organizational meeting that morning before the council meeting later that night, or doing the double up.
And you're talking the first, right?
Yes, on the December 1st. So is there an overall consensus or on which would be better or preferences so that we can bring it back to council?
My vote would be to just leave it the same with the organizational meeting and business meeting. And then maybe for the future election, that you're prepared with time to kind of build it in.
We already changed procedures. We voted on that in June. That's why, that's why I'm kind of like, the council's spoken on what the intent was.
Even if you just moved it up to 6 o'clock, I mean, if there's a separation of a meeting, or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, that's a separation of a meeting. It's not that difficult.
And my main concern was just preparation for the meeting. I could care less when it happens. I won't be canceling a meeting. Hopefully I'm here, but.
Got it.
I won't be canceling a meeting, but I will say I totally understood when Mayor O'Neill did it. Because, and I hated that for you guys, but we were sitting there like, yep, what you call it, zoning? Okay. All right.
Do you have enough direction? I didn't get clear.
So what did we decide? I'm not sure. I still don't know.
Are we just leaving it?
Yeah, we can just.
We could do that. If that's a preferred way, we could look at some other jurisdictions and how they do it.
I don't have any dog in this fight, and I have nothing to do with the agenda process, and I know you all are managing a lot, but it might be worth delaying this conversation maybe until the next work session and give folks time to consult peers and figure out how they do an organizational meeting that does not fall temporarily on the same day as having to take on a full agenda.
I would also offer that the League of the North Carolina League could offer you some insights, because I do think that across the state, it is done on the same day.
Awesome. Councilmember Javier, can you just also,
I think you're about to say what I was saying.
Yeah, what did the procedure say? What did we, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we just said that it is now an organizational meeting, that when a new council is sworn in, it is just an organizational meeting. That's what it says. If I'm not, I don't have it in front of me, but that's why we did it that way. And it was on the list of things that folks brought to us as something that wanted to be corrected. So it was like, hey, what do folks want to see updated in this thing? And that was one of the things that was raised, because there had been now 2 organizational meetings where zoning cases had been continued because folks did not feel ready to vote. And it made sense to me. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Especially since neither other local board does it that way.
So we can still have 2 meetings in one day. We can just have it earlier. I think the most important thing is making sure there's some serious time put in. We'll just need to make sure staff is, like, I know around the orientation, getting new emails and all of that stuff, I'm treating this as if we are not even here as a whole new people or whatever. I think we'll just have to get information to be available earlier, although it won't, it won't be any action taken. That way we won't have to deal with that. We can.
I feel like the way that the manager trained us, maybe it's the appointments that you're concerned about, because I don't think it's for the elections, because they took 3 days to bring me through all of the cases and all the organizations. Like, it was a full-on orientation. You were appointed and Hyman was appointed, but that was different.
No, that all happens after you're sworn in, though. Your orientation happens after you're sworn in.
My orientation happened before I was sworn in.
Yeah. I got my email like a couple of days before. I didn't have anything, and I was totally lost.
And I think that's just, it was Tom Bonfield at the time, so maybe it's just who the manager is, the way that they chose to move, because once the election is certified, it's not much.
Right, when we went through this with procedures about how many days is it post-certification, the whole thing is, like, how many days from election day to certification so that you could bring folks into, because really the council who sees the work session agenda and the one before is not the council that votes on it necessarily. So you could literally swear people in on Monday, November 24th, right? Or the business meeting, if you're looking at it, is on the 1st, right? The work session that you are voting on as a council member is not the same council member who sits in the work session. So really, you could swear in whoever's going to be there on Monday based on election results, but then it was that question, again, we were running against the clock on election certification, I think was the other part of it. So it was the holiday and election certification.
Which would put you back at the 1st.
Can we do it the week before Thanksgiving? In time for the work
We would
session?
is it 10 days? What?
It's 10 days after the election.
More than 10 days?
I need to look at the election laws to get the timeline down, but
Definitely more than 10 days.
that was some sort of factor as well.
Yeah. But the work session's the week before that Thanksgiving holiday, so we could do it sometime in the 17th and swear, but
People get sworn in on New Year's Day. Like if you know, like I get that Thanksgiving is right, but people get sworn in. I mean, all of the General Assembly people get sworn in. Like I think the district attorney is on New Year's Day. Like lots of folks get sworn in and like not the most convenient times, but that's when you get sworn in. So if
It's different because it's an organizational meeting, so it's not a single office.
what I'm saying is that if Attorney Rayberg can look at the election law and let us know the swearing in could happen and it's still an organizational meeting and that's the only thing that's happening and then there's just a regular business agenda for that first Monday, that might be the solution.
I'll just add one more thing here. I'm happy with the staff recommendation on this one. I'm also happy to go, if the majority of my colleagues want to move things around. I do think one thing, whichever route we take, just communicate with the planning department, who has some discretion in when they schedule rezoning cases, that they do not put a particularly controversial rezoning case on a member's first evening.
Every case is controversial. All right, so I think we have some sense of direction-ish moving.
We will.
See you at the next work session?
Yeah, we'll work with the city attorney's office and come back with our suggestion. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that was yours? That was yours, that was yours. All right, we are going to proceed to the,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, we're gonna settle the agenda here.
I have for consent, items 1 through 3, items 5 through 21, general business agenda, item number 4, general business agenda, public hearing, item number 24 and 25.
Sounds good. Is there a motion to settle the agenda?
So moved.
Been moved and properly seconded? All in favor? Aye. All right, we will now proceed to the conference suite for a closed session, and we'll adjourn there. I'll see you in 5 minutes.